every step of
of Economics, Dr. Hiral, the Assistant Professor of Economics, Mr. Rohit K. Pitle, sir, the Assistant Professor and Faculty Convener for this summit, all our speakers and panelists, and of course you, our lovely audience gathered here today. Could we please have a round of applause for them?
शिक्षकगण तथा सभी विद्यार्थियों का हार्दिक स्वागत एवं अभिनंदन। आगे बढ़ने से पहले आइए इस क्षण के महत्व का जश्न मनाने के लिए रुकें। इस दीपक की रोशनी न केवल परंपरा की चमक को दर्शाती है, बल्कि एकता, आशा और सकारात्मकता की चमक को दर्शाती है, जिसे हम एक साथ साझा करते हैं। आइए याद रखें कि यह हमारी सामूहिक भावना है जो हमारे रास्तों को रोशन करती है और हमारे जीवन के सबसे अंधेरे कोनों को भी रोशन करती है। अनुरोध है कि वे कृपया मंच पर आकर दीप प्रज्वलन कर कार्यक्रम का शुभारंभ करें।
As the reading is settled down, I would like to give a small introduction about HSNC University. Education is the passport for the future. for tomorrow belongs to those who prepare for it today. The Hyderabad Sindh National Collegiate Board, also known as the HSNC Board, is one of the most prominent educational boards in Maharashtra, and it has set up 17 educational institutions in and around Mumbai. In the year 2019, the HSNC Board completed 70 years of its educational journey and finally achieved the dream of its founding fathers, the establishment of the new State Cluster University. It is the first State Cluster University that has been set up with a government-private management body partnership with the Governor of Maharashtra as its only Chancellor and eminent industrialist, Dr. Niranjan Hiranandani sir. The university, with faculty members, aims to set new paradigms of education. It wishes to harness the enthusiasm of the young and dynamic population of India. It guides us towards a path of learning, knowledge, research, and innovation, service to society, and entrepreneurship. Today, we find ourselves assembled at Kishan-Chand Chelaram College, an institution that has been a stronghold of scholarly brilliance since its inception in 1954. Upholding its motto, knowledge and character, KC College goes beyond traditional education, molding individuals who are not only empathetic but also knowledgeable leaders. Known for its dedication to scholastic superiority, research, and comprehensive growth, KC College shines as a lighthouse for learning, encouraging a future where wisdom is intertwined with honesty, promoting beneficial changes on a global scale.
Having gained some insight into HSNC University, we will now move forward to present the committee and the initiative that brought this admirable International Economic Summit to fruition. The Economics Forum of KC College is a premier economic society, ardently fostering enthusiasm for economics and finance, cultivating leadership qualities in students through active engagement and diverse responsibilities. Committed to unlocking latent potential, the FKC creates an environment for personal and professional growth, encouraging students to transcend comfort zone with confidence and diverse interaction. The FKC is honored to host the International Economic Summit in alignment with the subject of sustainable development and economic growth, drawing inspiration from the G20 Summit hosted in India in 2023. It aims to offer a forum for junior and senior academics from reputable universities to look into and analyze topics important to economic growth, share their opinions, and learn from experts in the field. The Viksit Bharat at 2047 is a campaign launched by the Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji, which embodies a visionary mission. The Viksit Bharat at 2047 International Economic Summit is an initiative crafted by HSNC University to inspire the young minds of the nation to envision a developed India by 2047, marking the 100th year of independence. It encourages them to explore steps essential to manifest their vision and contribute to the realization of a prosperous and advanced India in 2047.
Today, we have with us our principal in charge, Dr. Tejaswi Shanbhag ma'am, an associate professor of exceptional caliber and leadership, with a wealth of qualifications, including a PhD, MPhil, MSc, and B.Ed. Her visionary leadership and unwavering commitment to education inspire us all, making her a true asset to this institution. We eagerly anticipate her insights as she graces our stage.
Thank you. Namaskar and good morning. Esteemed dignitaries on the stage, faculty members, a very warm welcome to this Viksit Bharat at 2047 International Economic Summit hosted by KC College, a constant college of HSNC University, Mumbai. I am deeply honored and privileged to be part of this occasion. I express my heartfelt gratitude each one of you for gracing this event with your presence. Today we gather to explore the vision of the youth of a developed India by providing a platform to investigate and study issues vital to economic development, express opinions, and acquire knowledge from industry specialists. Our Honorable Vice Chancellor of HSNC University Mumbai, Professor Dr. Hemlata Bagla, due to an urgent meeting couldn't be with us, but nevertheless, under her leadership, and whenever we ask her, can we organize a conference or a seminar, she just says, go ahead. And that's, that itself is a big motivation for us to go with our programs. The dedicated guidance of our economics faculty members headed by Professor Dr. Ravi Kiran Garje and the other members, the summit has evolved to be a beacon of academic excellence. Inspired by G20, the theme Sustainable Development and Economic Growth conveys a powerful message of striving for just and equitable growth for all as we navigate through these turbulent times in a sustainable, holistic, responsible, and inclusive manner. I would like to welcome over here our beloved, I say beloved, Dr. Mayashani Madam. Apart from being the trustee of the HSNC board, Maya Ma'am is also in charge of the Sayani Group, which focuses on providing excellent education. The Thadum Science Center for Management is one of the group's institutes and is affiliated with the universities in the UK. It has won awards for being the best business school for industry academic linkages. Maya Ma'am is Dr. Bani, Registrar at the HSNC University Mumbai. Sir is also the principal of Bombay Teachers Training College. He also is the Dean of Humanities. Thank you, sir. I invited him in the morning and he's here in spite of his busy schedule. Thank you so much. I would like to warmly welcome our guests for today's inaugural program, Ajit Gokhale sir. He is the one, I think he has come on short notice. He was supposed to come later, but he's come he tried to be with us in the morning all the way from Pune. Thank you, sir, for being with us. We are all eagerly waiting for your... To our dear students, your participation enriches our discussion, and I urge you to capitalize on these opportunities to exchange ideas and broaden your horizons. To the organizing committee, I have seen them working throughout the month, and the faculty, especially the dear students who have worked tirelessly to make this event a success. I extend my deepest appreciation. Your dedication and hard work has come to fruition, and I am proud to see the yield of your collective efforts. As we embark on this journey together, let us be guided by the principles of sustainability, inclusivity, and collaboration. Let us seize this opportunity to chart a course towards a more prosperous, equitable, and sustainable future for all. In conclusion, I wish everyone an enlightening and rewarding experience at the Viksit Bharat at 2047 International Economic Summit. May the knowledge be shared, connections made, and ideas generated during this event contribute significance to our understanding of sustainable development and bring crucial issues to the fore. Once again, a round of applause for all the student volunteers who have put in their heart and soul to make this event happen. Thank you. Congratulations also. Namaskar. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for such meticulous pearls of wisdom. Next, as ma'am said, we have Miss Maya Shahani. She is a distinguished figure known for multifaceted roles in various esteemed organizations, serving as a trustee for both HSNC Board and Tadomal Shahani Trust. She brings invaluable insight and dedication to the educational and social initiatives. As the chairperson of the Shahani Group and Sage Foundation, she embodies leadership and philanthropy, spearheading impactful projects. Additionally, her role as vice chairperson of the Global Dialogue Foundation underscores her commitment to fostering international collaboration and dialogue. Miss contribution spans across sectors, leaving a lasting mark on education, philanthropy, and global engagement. We would like to call upon ma'am to say a few words.
Thank you for the double introduction. Thank you, Dr. Tejasvi Shanbag, Dr. Balani, our chief guest, Dr. Ajit Gokhale, and of course, Professor Rajkiran, who's the convener of today's summit. I have exactly 2 minutes because I have to leave at 11 sharp. At the last minute, I've filled up for Dr. Hemlata Bagla because in our board we are constantly playing musical chairs. There's so many events happening one after the other, and Dr. Bagla was called suddenly to Delhi. So she requested me at the last minute if I could fill in for her. So I didn't have the time to write out a speech. I was up till 2:30 at night doing my own work, and suddenly Dr. Shanbag has sent me the speech written by some student. So I would like to acknowledge the student who's written out my speech. I normally don't read out speeches, but today I'm doing that. And I'll be leaving soon after my speech. So Dr. Gokhale, I was very keen on listening to your talk, but I'll listen to the recording. So I'm just reading out the speech. It's been very nicely written by a student. And so it is with great pleasure and anticipation that I welcome you all to the Viksit Bharat 2047 International Economic Summit, organized jointly by the Faculty of Interdisciplinary Studies at HSNC University and the Economics Forum of KC College. This summit serves as a platform for dynamic discourse and I would like to take a moment to reflect on the journey that has brought us here today. The Hyderabad National Collegiate Board stands tall as a beacon of educational excellence. With the esteemed Chancellor, the Honorable Governor of Maharashtra, and the illustrious Dr. Niranjan Hiranandani, who was supposed to be here today but he couldn't come, HSNC University stands poised to redefine the landscape of higher education. HSNC University, with its focus on industry partnerships and cutting-edge curriculum, is committed to nurturing a generation of forward-thinking leaders equipped to tackle the challenges of the 21st century. It is a testament to our collective commitment to harnessing the power of education as a catalyst for social change and economic progress. Viksit Bharat 2047, spearheaded by Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi, embodies a similar spirit of visionary leadership and transformative change. As we stand on the threshold of our nation's centennial anniversary of independence, it is incumbent upon us to envision a future that is not only prosperous, but also sustainable and inclusive. This initiative challenges us to think beyond the confines of the present and to actively shape the trajectory of our nation's development. The International Economic Summit serves as a crucible for these ideas, bringing together a diverse array of voices and perspectives to engage in meaningful dialogue and exchange. Our esteemed guests, of course, I've mentioned this earlier because I was reading out the speech, including Ajit Gokhale, and whoever done this job has done a fantastic job. What's the name of the student who's written the speech for me? Oh, it's a teamwork. Okay, but I'm very happy. So, our esteemed guests include Dr. Ajit Gokhale, Mr. Rohit Shukla, Mr. Rishi Agarwal, who was supposed to come today. Oh, I know him very well. And Mr. Kuntal Joshua represent the vanguard of innovation and thought leadership in their respective fields. Their insights and experiences will undoubtedly enrich discussions and inspire us to think boldly and act decisively. As we embark on this journey of exploration and discovery, let us remember that the challenges we face are formidable, but so too are the opportunities. By fostering collaboration and embracing innovation, we can chart a course towards a future that is not only economically prosperous, but also environmentally sustainable and socially equitable. In closing, I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to the organizers, participants, and sponsors who have made this summit possible. Your dedication and commitment to excellence serve as a shining example of what can be achieved when we work together towards a common goal. I would also like to express my gratitude to the Vice Chancellor of HSNC University, Dr. Hemlata Bagla, the Principal in charge of KC College, Dr. Tejasri Shanbag, for their unwavering support and leadership. Thank you, and I wish you all a fruitful and enlightening summit. Thank you. I'm so sorry I have to leave now, but I was so happy to come here today. Thank you.
Next, we have Dr. Bhagwan Balani, a visionary leader in education and the principal of the Bombay Teachers Training College. With decades of experience in pedagogy and educational leadership, Dr. Balani brings a wealth of expertise to our institution. His journey in education began with a passion for empowering students from evolving through various roles from classroom teacher to educational consultant. Under Dr. Balani's guidance, Bombay Teachers Training College has flourished into a vibrant hub of educational innovation. His commitment to continuous improvement and advocacy for educational equity serves as a guiding principle for our institution. Additionally, Dr. Balani serves as a Dean of Faculty for Humanities, further enriching our academic community with his diverse knowledge and experience. I would request sir to say a few words.
Good morning to one and all. Respected principal of the college, respected my colleague Ravi Kiranji, and our chief guest Dr. Ajit ji, and my dear colleagues Nandini Sengupta, and all my friends, students sitting in the audience. Good morning to one all. If you look at the title of this international conference is Viksit Bharat at the rate 2047. Now these 25 years has been termed as Amrit Kaal of India. Why the Prime Minister of India is calling this period 25 years as Amrit Kaal? I believe that the way we have been progressing in all the industries, let it be aviation, let it be infrastructure, let it be rail, let it be transport, let it be manufacturing, let it be skill development. If you look at all the areas of development, you will find a significant growth in all the areas. One area which I believe needs to be given more importance, that is education. No doubt, this government has done a lot as far as education is concerned. UGC has opened a lot of windows for universities and autonomous colleges to collaborate with foreign universities and bring foreign players to educate students at India. If you look at the national education policy is concerned, lot of provisions has been made in the policy, but we need to invest in that. We need to invest money, we need to invest human resources, we need to invest expertise, we need to collaborate and reach to the global level. If you see, as far as the global index of our universities is concerned, the quality is not up to the mark, because we have not been listed as per the topmost education institutions or universities in comparison to the global universities. I believe that as far as the human index is concerned, we have got a very good potential. India, being the youngest country, has got tremendous potential to grow, and I believe that if we can invest a good amount of our economy in creating new universities, in creating I believe that we will be able to create a new workforce which can really take India to the next level. I believe that another dimension which we really need to look into is that whatever the constitution that Baba Saheb Ambedkar has given to us, creating equal opportunities for a poor section of the society, women, and all other economically backward classes in the country. We really need to have policies for them so that we can also bring them at par with other, we can say, sections of the society. I believe that if we can work on those principles which has been taught to us by our founding fathers like Mahatma Gandhi ji, Baba Saheb Ambedkar ji, we really need to interpret the constitution in right manner and really need to put our efforts together and take the country forward. We need to resolve the conflicts. Look at the conflicts that we come across on television, in the parliament houses. The conflict is not, we can say, we don't see that there is any resolution to the conflict. The difference between the people in the parliament is widening day by day, which is not a good thing for us. So we need to educate the children that please have respect for the people who don't agree with you. So that level of education is to be given to the children. I believe that the student of HSS University in KS College will also look into in this dimension, whereas conflict with the environment also be taken care of while thinking about the different projects of development. I believe that this summit will definitely cover up sustainable development, collaborations, inclusiveness at a deeper level, whereas we can really touch to the core potentials of human index that we have got. I believe that the teachers of KC College, other experts, students will really deliberate and put their minds and intellect together, along with, we can say, their expertise. I believe that this international conference will definitely give us much better outcomes with a lot of understanding, with a lot of practical projects to be undertaken in near future. I believe that the students of KC College are really going to work very hard and will have a lot of takeaways so that they can contribute significantly when they will assume their responsibility as full-fledged citizens of India. I wish you all the best on this occasion. May God bless you and all your endeavors. Let it be education and employability, and probably many of you may take up a role of an entrepreneurship. We wish you all the best. God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for such insightful foresight. Lastly, we have Dr. Ravikiran Gajre, sir, the esteemed head of the economics department at KC College. The PhD in economics, he possesses extensive knowledge across a broad range of subjects. His diverse interests highlight a comprehensive.
I won't take much time. First of all, thank you for you all people, and really I can say that Dhruvi was behind me that we should host something like International Economic Summit, and we targeted very big people initially. You will surprise that we have sent the letter to Amartya Sen and Abhijit Banerjee, even the Prime Minister, so that we can start in a big way. Unfortunately, they have not responded, but some of the people, they said they will be coming. So, respected Madam Sile, now just she is busy, and she said that she will come later. Balani sir, Registrar, Chinese University. Our principal, Madam Ajit Joglekar sir, and our VC Madam has encouraged Hemlata Bakula Madam. She said that you go ahead, doesn't matter whatever the happening is there, and said that you can go ahead, let's see that how you can do better in the next time. And this way we have started. Viksit Bharat 2047, we have done the survey also. And that survey, we got some feedback from the students. They said that how we can develop our India by 2047. Already we are the third largest economy in terms of the purchasing power parity terms, and now we want it to be the first in the world. It can be possible, but some of the parameters are there which we need to consider. For example, we need still to remove the poverty, level poverty is almost now 11% of the total population. We may be targeting to become. We want to bring the income inequality. We want to provide employment opportunities. So some of the feedback says that we have to focus about education, higher education, primary education. Can we make it free education and quality education to everybody? Can we provide the health services to everybody? So this way, the human poverty index, the multi-dimensional poverty index, which is high at 11% at present, can we bring it to almost 0%? That is what we are talking about, the Viksit Bharat 2047. No doubt, growth rate of the national income, per capita income, that all will go. We may be the first ranking country in the world, but what we have to see is the other social parameters we have to consider. And for that purpose, we are coming together for this summit, see that how we can find out some of the issues and how we can sort out the issues. Okay, thank you. We will continue this summit with our Ajit sir and other panelists who are going to come. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your wisdom. Now, today we have Dr. Ajit Gokhale, our chief guest. He is the founder of Natural Solution, which is a scientific and technical consultancy firm specializing in water waste treatment and solid waste management. Ajit sir is an environmental scientist and has pursued his doctoral degree in plant physiology and biochemistry. Previously, Ajit sir was a lecturer who taught botany, plant physiology and environmental science to graduate and postgraduate students at Birla College. Dr. Ajit Gokhale sir has been appointed as a state-level Jal Nayak, trainer of trainers at Yashoda, Yashwantrao Chavan Academy of Development Administration by Government of Maharashtra. Sir has also received the prestigious Rashtriya Swayamsit Samman by JSPL, Jindal Steel and Power Limited Foundation for outstanding contribution in the field of environment on December 19, 2019, and also Paryavaran Sanrakshan Samman. We would like to take this opportunity to present a token of appreciation to our chief guest, Dr. Ajit Gokhale sir.
Today, we are privileged to have Dr. Ajit Gokhale, who will be sharing his valuable insights. Dr. Ajit Gokhale, sir, brings a wealth of experience in the field of sustainability, and we are fortunate to have them here with us. I would request Mr. Ajit Gokhale to commence with their presentation. Let's give him a round of applause.
Thank you. Can I have my presentation on? Before this presentation comes up, I thank your college, the trustees and management committee, and to all of you for being present here. Looks like this presentation will take some time to load. Till then, I would like some light on the audience so that I can converse with them. Can I have some light on the audience? ऑडियंस पे कोई लाइट दे सकता है क्या? थोड़ा सा, बिल्कुल, थैंक यू. How many of you are economics students? Thank you. How many of you are science students? How many of you are students of mass media? No? Good. Then who are the others? I got only 3-4 science students and half economic students. The rest are from humanities. Sorry? Commerce, okay. Commerce is in a way economics. And economics is in a way commerce, right? Commerce is, I applied economics, and economics is theoretical commerce. Would we have our presentation? Okay. Do you consider India to be developed? What is developed? What is developing? What is GDP? That is the full form. If suppose one accident happens, GDP will rise or fall down? Think again. Ask Google. Ask ChatGPT. If a storm comes or an earthquake comes, would the GDP go up or down? You need to study your economics again. Any economic activity where money exchanges hands, GDP rises. So, an accident or an earthquake or a storm will make the GDP rise. In this situation, is it really a good indicator of development? Hello? Is it a good indicator of development? No. Yet, people use it as the indicator of development. Very good. We have got the screen. Can I have a... I would like to go to the next slide. Can you focus it a bit? First statement, I am not an economist. I am not an economist, so why am I here? And what can I tell you when I am not an economist? I know something from E.F. Schumacher, and I know something from George Bernard Shaw. Do you know E.F. Schumacher? Has anyone read a book called Small is Beautiful? The subtitle of that book is As If Humanity Matters. And George Bernard Shaw was an author. I have some of these quotes from E.F. Schumacher. Infinite growth of material consumption. That is the basis of economics. Growth in consumption. When consumption increases, economic activities increase. When economic activities increase, GDP increases, GNP increases. E.F. Schumacher himself was an economist, has written infinite growth of material consumption in a finite world. To you and me, this earth may appear big, but it really is not infinite. It is finite world is an impossibility. Second thing that he says is anyone who thinks consumption can expand forever, consumption can expand forever on a finite planet is either insane or an economist. Sorry, professors of economics. This is what one economist, an accomplished economist, said. One more thing that he said. Anything that can be that we can destroy, anything that we can destroy, but are is in a sense sacred, and all our explanations of it not explain anything. What does it mean? We cannot give life to even an ant. We can destroy an ant, yes, but we cannot give that life back to that ant. So the life of ant is also sacred. Any study that scientists do of ants and try to explain how the ants grow and live really explain nothing. Not know what that life is. This is something an economist is saying. And this is George Bernard Shaw. He said, we have no more right to consume happiness without producing it. It is our duty to produce happiness. When we produce happiness, only then can we consume it. Right? We have no more right to consume happiness without producing it than to consume wealth without producing it. When you consume wealth without producing it, what does it amount to? In economics terms, what is it? In accounting terms, what is it? Overdraft, loan. You have heard of these terms? You are still there? Awake? Okay, if you are awake, you have heard of term called overdraft. You have heard a term called loan. Overdraft is something which is getting some money from bank when you don't have any money in your account. Loan is something which you take from someone when you do not have that money. So it is exactly the same thing. We have no right to consume happiness without producing it. I do not know whether I am generating any happiness in you, so I can't consume any as yet. But in due course of time, I think I'll be able to generate some happiness in this hall. Though I won't be able to see it because of that light which is on me. Bernard Shaw also said, progress is not possible without those who cannot change their minds cannot change anything. Beware of false knowledge. Information is not knowledge. Be aware of false knowledge. It is more dangerous than ignorance. Why did I say these quotes? So that you might feel that I am a learned person. Am I? You are not sure. Let us see. Now let us try to see in this light what is Vikasit and what is Bharat. Vikasit is developed. Yes or no? What is developed? If Vikasit developed, then what is developed? कोई भी देश विकसित कब बनता है? विकसित देश यानी औद्योगिक देश, industrial country, industrial nation only is developed. Who said this? Industrial nations. Did they go and ask any non-industrial nation what is development? They don't. उन देशों को कहा जाता है जिनका कुछ मानकों के अनुसार उच्च विकास दर है। कुछ मानकों के अनुसार। ये मानक किसने बनाए हैं? उन्हीं लोगों ने बनाए। चलिए ठीक है। विकसित अर्थव्यवस्था का मतलब और अर्थ का मतलब जब कोई देश इंडस्ट्रियलाइज हो तभी वो विकसित कह सकता है। नहीं होगा इंडस्ट्रियलाइज तो अविकसित। चलिए कोई बात नहीं, और आगे देखते हैं। वहां के लोग हाई मेंटेनेंस लाइफ जीते हो। हाई मेंटेनेंस लाइफ क्या होता है? ये जीने के लिए बहुत खर्चा करना पड़ता है, वो हाई मेंटेनेंस लाइफ होता है। दिस इज इकोनॉमिक्स डेफिनेशन। अन्य विकसित देशों की तरह उसके पास भी उन्नत तकनीक हो, टेक्नोलॉजिकल डेवलपमेंट हो, मॉडर्न टेक्नोलॉजिकल डेवलपमेंट हो, तब आदि अन्य विकसित देशों की तरह हो। मतलब ये कंपैरिजन है, और ये कंपैरिजन जो है वो हम थोड़ी अब देख लेते हैं। अच्छा दिख रहा है? मियामी, सिडनी, तेल अवीव, दुबई, हांगकांग, फ्रांस का एक नीस नाम का शहर है, बार्सिलोना इन स्पेन। गुड सिटीज, बिग सिटीज, डेवलप्ड सिटीज। केप टाउन, डेवलप्ड सिटी। लेकिन 3 साल पहले पानी के बारे में बहुत किल्लत थी उनके पास। इज इट डेवलप्ड? चलो और आगे देखते हैं। These are developed cities. Why? How do the economists and development professionals measure the progress? वो मेजर करते हैं जीडीपी और जीएनपी पे। और ये प्रोजेक्टर चालू होने के पहले हमने कुछ डिस्कस किया था। अर्थक्वेक हो जाए तो जीडीपी बढ़ता है। क्या ये सही मेजरिंग टेप है डेवलपमेंट का? आगे का सवाल। पुराने लोग कहते हैं दुर्लभम भारत इस भारत देश में जन्म लेना जो है वो दुर्लभ है। How many of you have decided to take birth in Bharat? कितने लोगों ने सोच समझ के भारत में जन्म लिया? No one. Right? We are born in Bharat because of some reason. And that some reason is very difficult. And hence they said, Durlabham Bharate Janmah. आगे देखते हैं। आजकल लोग क्या कहते हैं? अति दुर्लभम तो ग्रीन कार्ड रहा। ग्रीन कार्ड समझते हो? ग्रीन कार्ड मिलना बहुत मुश्किल है। भारत में जन्म तो ले लिया, लेकिन बहुत सारे भारत में जन्मे हुए लोगों को भारत में रहना पसंद नहीं आता, या तो उन्हें डर लगता है वहां पर, तो वो भागते हैं यहाँ वहां ग्रीन कार्ड की खोज में, परमानेंट रेसिडेंसी की खोज में। पैसा कमाना मुश्किल होता है। दुर्लभम लभ्यते रूप्यकाणि। रुपये बहुत मुश्किल से मिलते हैं। आजकल शायद आसानी से भी मिलते हैं। अति दुर्लभम तो डॉलर काणी। डॉलर मिलना बहुत ज्यादा मुश्किल है, रुपए फिर भी मिल जाएंगे। क्या ये वास्तविकता है? अगर ये वास्तविकता है तो क्या ये सही है? अब ये देखिए, किसी ने एक बहुत न्यारा बंगला बनाया था, गिर गया बेचारा। अब ये गिर गया तो जीडीपी बढ़ा या घटा? ये यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स में है तो जीडीपी यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स का बढ़ेगा। मालिक बेचारा रोता होगा, लेकिन वो बात अलग है। ये क्यों टूटा? ओवर एक्सप्लॉयटेशन ऑफ ग्राउंड वाटर and improper disposal of sewage water, इसकी वजह से टूटा। इस चीज को सिंक होल कहते हैं और ऐसे यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स में बहुत सारे। कितने लोगों को सिंक होल के बारे में मालूम था? I can't see you, but I understand. I know not many hands would be up. Because they show us Grammy awards. They show us Oscar awards. Hollywood, they show us their movies. They do not show us their reality. This gentleman is standing on ground and there is a word written 1977, that number written there. Up there is a number written 1925. Do you know what this is? This is the depth to which California had sunk. In 1925, that place was up there. The soil was up there. In 55 it came there. In 77 it went there. Afterwards it went further down. This is not my data. This is their own data. But they will not show it to you. And most of you will not try to search for it. Because मार्क्स पाने के लिए पढ़ाई करने की आजकल बहुत कम जरूरत पड़ती है और मार्क्स के बाहर पढ़ाई होती है ये बहुत कम लोग जानते हैं. चलिए आगे देखते हैं. ये भी क्यों हुआ? ओवर एक्सप्लॉयटेशन ऑफ वाटर. इज इट पॉसिबल? ये एक पेपर में पकड़ रहा हूं. दिस पेपर, if I try and bring it down very slowly, you will not be able to notice that I am doing it. मैं गिरा दूं तो आपको पता चलेगा, लेकिन बहुत स्लोली अगर ये नीचे जाता गया तो हमें नहीं समझता. We don't understand it. If this entire auditorium suddenly shakes, you will come to know earthquake आ गया. If it slowly goes down, entire auditorium, if it slowly keeps on going down, we will not understand that it is going down because our references are each other. Ask Google, ask ChatGPT, ask books if they are in the library. And also now see this. This blue thing was a sea called Aral Sea. In 1960 it was big, very big. Though they call it sea, it was sweet water. There were two rivers, Amu Darya and Sir Darya, meeting this sea to make largest sweet water body. But then irrigation engineers came and they said, we will make dams. They made dams and they made canals. They thought these rivers have plenty of water. And that water will not get over even if they made 100 canals. They made dams and they made canals. Water was diverted to places from where it did not come into the Aral Sea. The result, Aral Sea dried up. Search for this also and you will find it. How fast did it dry? What you see there are ships. Those large ships could not move with the water. Water receded and the ship which was anchored was thinking, okay, tomorrow I will go. Tomorrow the captain found his ship is sunk in the sand. To 1850 to 1900 to 1950 to 2000. This is x-axis. 0, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. That is y-axis. And then there are those tiny peaks. And near 1950, there is Bretton Woods. Can someone tell me what happened at Bretton Woods? You have heard of Bretton Woods? What happened there? What was decided? Economic students, please say. Bretton Woods Conference decided gold standard. If you have so much gold, you will produce or print notes, currency notes, which will be in the ratio of it. Initially, all the nations abided by it. Yes, I have so much gold, I will produce so many notes. I have so much gold, I will produce so many notes. I have so much gold, I will produce so many notes. But then, a time came when somebody broke that rule. You know who? Who made Bretton Woods Conference code? Yes, yes. I think you have said it correct. United States broke it. And they said, irrespective of what gold we have, we'll produce dollars. And they started supplying dollars as donation to various international organizations. United Nations, WHO, UNESCO, UNICEF. Everyone was given lot of dollars as donation. They in turn gave lot of dollars as donation to various NGOs. And they also did one pact with oil producing nations. All the oil will be traded only for dollars. When that happened, the Bretton Woods Code was broken and dollar became the currency of the world. You are aware of this? Then what happens? If you study history and these valleys, not the peaks, if you study history and the valleys, you will come to know every time there was a valley, there was a war. There was a big valley before 1950. It happened in 1930s. What do you call it as? 1930, some big economic activity happened. The Great Depression. That Great Depression was resolved only after Second World War. After killing so many people, after burning so much of trinitrotoluene, TNT, and dropping those two heinous bombs on Japan, the depression resolved. Did it remain resolved forever? No, it went into depression again. Then war. Then there was trade. When trade subsided, again depression. New war. Whenever economy went in slump, after 1800, they needed war to resurrect it. This is development. And those numbers 0, 5, 10, 15, 20, these are the number of banks having, these are the number of countries having banking crisis. If you see the trend, the number of countries having banking crisis is increasing. So banking crisis has something to do with depression. Depression has something to do with war. War has a lot to do with everything that is bad. How does economic depression work? It works in this cycle. You have falling demand, you have falling prices, you have debt defaulters, you have bankruptcies, you have layoffs and wage reductions, which feed falling demand, which feed falling prices, which feed debt defaulters, and so on. When this happens, they call it depression. In case of nation, oh yes, we are running out of time. Very true. I was also about to say the same thing. We'll go quickly there. It resolves after war. Is it necessary to go to war? Which is the most rich nation in world? Hello? Which is most rich state in India, agriculturally speaking, and which is most rich, agriculturally rich district in Maharashtra? I'll start answering. Most supposed to be developed nation is United States. Most agriculturally rich state is Punjab. Most agriculturally rich district in Maharashtra is Kolhapur. Within Kolhapur, most agriculturally rich taluka is Shirur. In Punjab, most agriculturally rich district is Bhatinda. All these rich are also rich in cancers. Various kinds of cancers. I leave this presentation with your computer. You can see it at peace later on. So does it mean more development means more cancer? If so, should we vie for development? This is pharmaceutical industry. This entire thing is pharmaceutical. This is oncology. Oncology is treatment of cancer. That is the booming industry. development brings us this. Why? Why? This is United States, and these are the estimated population with arsenic greater than 10 micrograms per liter. This is greater than 5,000. Why is that? This is world data. High, moderate, low, very low. And this white does not mean no. It means no data. From where does this arsenic come? Even in India, in 1996, when I was working with Ion Exchange, there was arsenic only in West Bengal and Bangladesh. Now, all the states have it. From where? It comes from these blue colored waters. That was in United States, this is in India. This is in Jamshedpur. See this blue color? These are tailing ponds. These tailing ponds collect industrial wastewater. That wastewater, which is very difficult to treat, which they say is economically not feasible to treat. Is the technology not available? Technology is available. Are the industrialists using it? They are not using it. Because it is economically not feasible. मैनेजिंग डायरेक्टर का प्राइवेट जेट है वो इकोनॉमिकली फिजिबल है वाइस प्रेसिडेंट्स की बड़ी बड़ी कारें हैं वो इकोनॉमिकली फिजिबल है treating wastewater is not economically feasible. It goes down into the ground and then it comes into the wells and bore wells. ये सारा जो दिखा रहा हूँ इंडिया दिखा रहा हूँ, ये ब्लू देखिए, हर एक इमेज पे ब्लू सर्च करिए, वो ब्लू जो है वो आपको दिखाएगा कहाँ पर टेलिंग पॉन्ड्स है. That reminds me of one incident which is written in Indian mythology. Globalization happened. That globalization resulted in bringing out of lot of poisonous, very poisonous liquid, which is called halal, extremely poisonous. And then they say somebody held that halal in his throat. Heard of this? Irrespective of the type of mine, whether it is copper, it is zinc, it is iron, it is nickel, it is cadmium, it invariably turns blue. Neelakand. See, this is lead. These people, nickel mines in Guatemala, they don't have tailing pond. Why? They extract it from here and they dump it in this part of the ocean. So that is globalization of pollution. Do we want this in 2047? I would be dead by then, most probably. Doesn't matter to me. How about you? They say urbanization is most essential for development. This is how urbanization is going to go ahead. The largest cities are going to increase in various places. And then that will result in, hello, this is not functioning. It is. This is stuck. So I think it is an indication that I should not continue speaking anymore. What shall I do? Maybe the battery is gone and this is stuck. It is, hello? I point there. Still it is not functioning. Now it did. For having those cities, we need to burn rivers. For having these cities, we need to produce lot of power. And whenever we produce lot of power, we produce lot of poison. No, sir. See, most of the rivers in the developed part of the world are burned, and that results in huge pollution. I don't know, some of you might have seen this. If you study Maharashtra, we are at almost 12 crores. Out of that, 2.6 crores live in Mumbai metropolitan region. So what? See next. Chennai is also similar. 1.3 crores out of 6.79 crores. In this tiny part. So what? So this. We get food from everywhere. We convert it into sewage and we send it into the sea. Is that smart? Same thing with Chennai. We get food from everywhere and we throw it in sea. We are actually losing mineral mineral nutrients for which people had wars. First World War happened because Germany wanted to control the saltpeter trade in Chile. They don't teach you this in history. They don't teach you this in economics. They also don't teach you this in agriculture. But this is reality. What is the status now? No. Bhavabhuti had said, Kalo ayam niravati vipula cha prithvi. The time is infinite. The earth is so big. Today, Bhavabhuti is wrong. Kalo ayam swalpavati. We have got very little time. Vikala cha prithvi. This Mother Earth, which has been sustaining us and our previous generations, has become weak. Like this machine. I'll stop now, but there are more slides. If time permits. Utpatshyate himam kopi samana dharma. No? Kalo ayam niravati vipula cha prithvi. Today, Kalo ayam alpavati, very little time. Vikala cha prithvi. क्या हमें ये विकास चाहिए? अगर नहीं तो हमें भारत के हिसाब से सोचना चाहिए. भारत सिर्फ लैंड नहीं है. भारत भारतः इति भारतः. नूर की खोज में जो है वो भारत है. नबी जी कहते थे मुझे भारत हिंद के तरफ से खुशबू आती है. क्या था वो? भारत था. ये भारत है और ये आगे खोजिए. No, this would not work. I think I should stop. There is more. If you have any queries, I'll try and answer them. Could you change the batteries? These batteries are gone. you have any queries, I suppose we might get a couple of minutes. No queries? Yes, there is one query. Yamuna. Delhi is disposing her sewage in Yamuna. Patna is disposing in Ganga. All cities, all over the world, however developed they are disposing their sewage in nearest water bodies. The result is Prithvi Tattva is getting into Jala Tattva. People have written this. At the time of Pralay, Prithvi Tattva will get into Jala Tattva. Ichthyology में भी ये है, कुरान में भी ये है. डेजर्ट्स में बाढ़ आएगी, लिखा है कुरान में, तब कयामत आएगी. हम उसके कॉज हैं और हम ही उसे बदल सकते हैं. इट इज पॉसिबल. यस. Sorry?
We may not know.
Hello. Okay, बोलो मैं सुनूंगा.
So in water bodies, especially in the Mumbai Sea, in the like the back bay,
Back bay, right.
Mahim Bay, not
Mahim Bay, yes.
Mahim Bay. We see that I have a lot of times I've
Mahim Bay stinks whenever you crossway.
Yeah. So we have seen this that a lot of things are getting released into the water, and it is systematic. Like there is no such thing that it is released by someone. Systematically it has been released. So this has been something which has been systematically done by the municipality and the government in particular. So there is no tackle from the government side, from the establishment in particular. So what should be our conduct towards that? See, we understand that we ourselves should work ourselves. Like we have seen some pictures in Meethi that people are literally throwing garbage into the Meethi river. It is a river which we read and then we realize it is a river. Otherwise, we literally call it a nala.
It is nala.
We, as Mumbaikars, when we grew up, we never knew that there is a river in Mumbai. We learned about it. So if we look at it, there is no such thing called river in Mumbai. If we
there are 5 rivers in Mumbai.
Ironically. So if we look at it,
today we have converted them into sewer rivers.
Yeah, so there is no effort from the establishment as such. So if
I'll tell you a story.
Okay.
An interesting fact.
Okay.
In 1980s, India needed some loan. So the World Bank came and asked, what do you do with your sewage? They said, we leave it in the sea. And the World Bank said, no, you should not do that. So what should we do? You should treat it and then leave it in the sea. And we tried to do that. Half-heartedly, full-heartedly, quarter-heartedly, we did. Then again we needed loan. And World Bank came again and asked, what do you do with your sewage? We treat it this much and send it into the sea. They said, no, that is bad. What should be done? You treat it further. They said, we don't have money. World Bank said, we'll give you money. We said, we don't have technology. They said, we'll give you technology. So they gave money, they gave the technology, and the money went back to them. Then again a time came when we needed loan. And World Bank said, what do you do with your sewage? Hey, you only gave us money. We gave that money to your companies. Your companies did something. That is not adequate. You must leave it deep down into the sea. Then again, our people said, see, we don't have money. World Bank said, yes, we'll give you. That we don't acknowledge to say that sewage deep into the sea. Don't worry, we'll give it to you. So World Bank gave money. We gave it to the company pocketed it. This has happened 3 times. And this idea of sending sewage deep into the sea is a favorite idea of all supposedly developed nations. All the cities that I showed you throw their sewage 2 kilometers, 3 kilometers inside the sea at a depth of 60 feet, 100 feet, 200 feet. They are doing it. And it is utterly wrong. We are draining our sustenance to the sea. It is bad. Needs to change. First thing to change is to become aware of it. Economists are not aware of it. Scientists are little aware of it, but their hands are tied by economists. Any more query? Have you read a book called Confessions of Economic Hitman? Confessions of Economic Hitman. Have you read it? Economic students should. It is written by Percy somebody. Google Confessions of Economic Hitman and you'll get the person's name. He was working with World Bank. He was working with International Monetary Fund. He saw the bad effects of his work on the third world, and he became restless. He could not sleep. He said, if I bring it out into public, they will kill me. His daughter gave him strength. His John Perkins, not Percy, somebody, John Perkins has written that book. His daughter gave him strength, saying, you write about it, whatever happens, we will face. Do read that book. How big nations, big corporations, and big economic entities are fooling you and me and our world. I think I should be stopping now. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for such an inspiring presentation and for clearing the doubts. I would now like to request Ruby Gosakar to express her words of gratitude.
Good morning, everyone. First and foremost, I would like to thank our Honorable Trustee, Ms. Maya Shahani ma'am, our IC Principal, Dr. Tejaswi Shanbhat ma'am, Dr. Bhagwan Balani sir, Registrar and Dean of Faculty of Humanities, whose able guidance enabled us to organize this program on such a grand scale. I would also like to thank our esteemed Vice Principal, Professor Smarjeet Pali sir, and Dr. Shalini Sinha ma'am, without whose unwavering support, this event would not have been possible. I would like to take this opportunity to extend my heartfelt gratitude to the Faculty of Economic Department of KC College, whose ingenious ideas and unfettered enthusiasm played a pivotal role in bringing this event to life. I refer specifically to Dr. Ravi Kiran Garje sir, the HOD of Economic Department, Dr. Nandini Sen Gupta ma'am, Associate Professor, Dr. Hiral Sheth ma'am, Assistant Professor, Professor Rohit K. Pitali sir, Assistant Professor. I would also like to thank our chief guest, Dr. Ajit Gokhale sir, for his presence, which helped ensure the seamless flow of proceedings throughout the event. I extend my gratitude to them on the behalf of the HSNC University and KC College. At this time, I would like to thank the entire committee and who have left no stone unturned to make it possible. I would like to especially applaud for the efforts of the core team comprising the vice chairpersons Anirudh Maniktala, Kalyani Yadav, Kashfi Patel and Zaid Mohammed. Last but definitely not the least, I would like to thank the audience who was actively engaging in the program. We at TEPKC believe and hope that all of you had a wonderful time participating in today's session and that you will imbibe the lesson that you've learned and relate it in the principles of economics. Thank you.
Without further ado, we now proceed to the second session conducted by Mr. Rohit Shukla sir. Mr. Rohit Shukla sir founded the Lata Institute in 1993. Since then, he has guided the Tibet organization from its role as a state-mandated provider of regional entrepreneur assistance to a national commercialization partner of major federal agencies in science-based mission areas comprising in technology solutions that feed, fuel and heal the world. LATA's Commercialization Accelerator Program, also known as CAPS, are intended primarily for SBIR, STTR awardees of NIH, NSF, USDA, NIST and NOOA, and have also been used in many countries. He pioneered the LATA's network-centric model using distributed domain expertise and industry feedback. Sir has a Master's in Communication Arts and Sciences from Loyola Marymount University in Los Angeles and a Master's in Social and Political Sciences from the University of Cambridge, England. I would now like to call upon our Head of Economics Department, Professor Dr. Ravi Kiran Garje sir, to give a token of appreciation to Mr. Rohit Shukla sir. So now, sir, we can continue with your session, please.
Where's the clicker? Just waiting for the presentation to come up. Here we go. So, thank you so much, by the way. I think I mentioned to the organizers that I am a native of Bombay, by the way. Mumbai now. At the time it was Bombay. And I also went to college at Elphinstone College, which is very close to here. And that's where I did the first part of my academic history with a BA and a master's part one before I went to England. So what I'm going to do today is just go through a a series of slides that attempt to identify and underscore the importance of sustainability, both as a concept and as an opportunity to be able to build a program, both national and local, around sustainability, given the challenges that we're facing as a planet. This is not moving. There we go. So again, I'm going to introduce the organization I founded and ran, called LARDA Institute in Los Angeles, California, with a worldwide footprint. I will talk about sustainability in general with some very specific examples. I'll talk about India and the opportunities and the advantages that India has moving into this new era of dynamic change in the climate. I'll talk about how you set up a sustainable program development, some thoughts about that for the folks in the economics area in particular, but also for those involved in education, in culture, and so on. And then we'll talk about, at the end, some important takeaways that you might be interested in looking through and examining and appreciating and further pursuing as part of your own careers. So first of all, just about us. We are 30 years old this year. I founded the organization as a means of being able to focus on entrepreneurship at the height of the Cold War, when the Cold War was ending, and the first Gulf War. There were a very, very large number of people who were left unemployed as a consequence of the fact that the defense industry was declining. And Los Angeles, you all know about it as being the center of Hollywood. It's also, if you didn't know this, the largest manufacturing center in the US. It's also was the center for defense and aerospace. And so, with all of that, we started LARDA in order to be able to foster entrepreneurship in the sciences emerging out of the ashes of the defense industry. We're currently 30 years old, and we've worked with over 4,500 companies who have gone on to raise billions of dollars in additional investment over that period of time. These are the areas we're involved with. It's an interesting, important area, group of areas, because this focuses on what sustainability is: energy, environment, agriculture, and food, biosciences and healthcare, education and community, marine and oceans. Put together, all of these constitute what we consider to be a sustainability agenda. An agenda that focuses on planetary health, on the well-being of communities, on the use of science to drive evidence-based decisions that benefit the planet and its inhabitants. And that's exactly what we have decided to pursue as part of the work that we do at LARDA. You heard from the introduction all of these acronyms of agencies that we are engaged with in the US, so that you should know, and I think India has been very, very good at emulating this as well. But in the US, they have a program called SBIR, the Small Business Innovation Research Program, where folks who are working on innovative concepts and starting businesses around those innovative concepts have an opportunity to apply for funding from the US government. These are grants that are made to them in two phases. Phase one is concept, phase two is pre-commercialization. LARDA itself has been extremely engaged with all of these agencies that focus on this agenda. The Department of Energy, the US Department of Agriculture, the National Institute of Science and Technology, the National Institute of Health. Together, we've been able to essentially focus our attention on the best and the brightest innovators working in these areas and help them commercialize their products. That's what our work is about. And you can see on the left-hand side here the kind of record that we've left over the course of time. This is not expected to be a commercial for Lauda. I'm just giving you this as background in terms of why it is that we think the way we do in the world that we are now occupying at this point in time, both in India and around the world. These three principles, to us, define the work that we do. We identify important innovations that can be matched to global problems. Because for entrepreneurs, and many of you in the commerce area, and the commerce and finance area at this particular institution, are focused on starting businesses of your own. In order to be able to do that, you've got to recognize what problem you're trying to resolve, right? What is the problem you're trying to resolve? How are you going to be able to make a go of the resolution of that problem? And that's precisely what we do as well in relation to our daily work. We identify local and global problems that innovative concepts can resolve or address. We nurture those concepts through an incubation process that's entirely virtual. It's not physical, because we command the entire country, the entire U.S. as our basic work. And then we scale them. We help these companies, these small, interesting, entrepreneurially driven companies, to scale their ideas so that they can have the maximum impact of the technologies that they are focused on. This circle simply describes our work in a more graphic context. In the middle, you'll see all of the areas we're involved with. On the right, in the circle on the right, you will see the things that we do to advance the work of the central part of Lauda's mission. We've got a ventures group that focuses on investing in small companies through philanthropic donations. And because we're a 501c3, we're a non-profit organization with a for-profit arm. We have a global bridge program that focuses on external, overseas contacts with countries and institutions that are interested in cultivating entrepreneurs in their own work. And we've done so in a whole host of countries, from Brazil and Morocco and Southern Europe and Northern Europe and Canada and Australia and New Zealand and Israel and Japan and Korea. And then we've got a local program in Los Angeles called Heal.LA, which is focused on the underserved communities and their healthcare needs in the post-COVID environment. And then we have, of course, our regular SBIR work. And more recently, we started a program called the Venture Fellows, which seeks to solicit and recruit people from inside underserved communities who are dealing with the effects of climate change. And the effects of climate change, I don't have to tell you, I'll get into it in some detail, are pretty horrific depending on which part of the world you're in. And so I'm just going to give you some select portfolio companies who do the kinds of things I've just been telling you about. Here are three of them. A company called 12 that's working on carbon capture. A company called Taviva, run by a remarkable man of Indian descent. And they focus on planting trees that will enrich the soil that has been left denuded by years of misuse, or in the case of this particular crop that they're working on, called Pongamia, which grows in India, is native to India. It's a wild grass. In the case of Pongamia, it's able to actually resuscitate what is a dead zone for citrus. The lime and citrus industry in the US has been decimated by a particular beetle. And so this particular opportunity that they have had to put in Pongamia into soil, which has been left barren by this particular disease, has resulted in a whole new kind of economy grown around the oil that comes from Pongamia. And the final one there, Clear Flame Engine, which is to decarbonize heavy-duty industries like manufacturing and steel and so on. Three more, Literati, which focuses on crowd outsourcing the collection of litter. Ecovative, which is using mushrooms to grow new sustainable materials for packaging in particular. Mushrooms are, if you know anything about mycelium, which is the basic fundamental composition of mushrooms, it has a very pliable and hardy structure. And finally, Black Swift, which is to deliver specific critical supplies to places which need and which are beyond the line of sight of most control regimes. And so they use drones to be able to detect methane, for example, or create other opportunities for data in remote sensing areas. 3 more here. Mapping the ocean, which is a big part of, I think, our overall interest in environment and climate, is what is going on in the ocean. Geotech, Eden Geotech, which it uses a particular process to uncover geothermal supplies in rock. And finally, Sea Vision AI, which provides an AI-driven image sensing program for decision-making across the board in terms of ocean health. And just another quick thing here on Taviva. And by the way, this presentation probably will be made available, I'm assuming, and so you can delve more into it. But I just provided you here with a whole overview of what Taviva does, because we're particularly proud of them. So that's just to set the tone for our work and our thinking about sustainability. I wanted to give you a good sense of what LADA does. Now, in terms of sustainability itself and the theme that I wanted to continue to pursue in this discussion, in this talk, the need for heightened attention in sustainability, looking at India as being at the forefront of a potential global movement on sustainability. First of all, I want to just say that, sustainability is not about any one specific thing. It's not just about recycling. It's not just about reuse. It's not just about adaptation. It's about all of those things and even more. It's holistic. It involves a whole range of domains, most of them well-established domains in the academic world, in the scientific and research world, and in the commercial world. And in order for us to be able to pursue a sustainability agenda, we've got to bring all of those together. So it is holistic. It covers many domains across all areas of human activity. It's environmental, social, and economic. It's also not just related to, as I was just saying, environment factors and to environmental mandates, like, for example, in India, the plastic ban, right? That was a mandate. But it's not just about focusing on those kinds of usage issues. It's also about how we plan our world, how we plan our activities, how we plan to be able to use and reuse materials, how we plan supply chains, how we plan logistics, how we plan emissions, how we plan fishing, how we plan coastal building, how we plan regular building in urban areas. All of those things put together will constitute an approach to sustainability that works. So, just to be clear, sustainability is defined by resilience, because obviously we are living in a time when climate change is destroying so many communities. It is destroying destroying so much of what we've already built in the built environment. It's also destroying so much in the natural environment. And as a consequence, it is making communities suffer dramatically all over the world, not just in the southern part of the world, but also the north, just as badly. So resilience is the ability to deal with and withstand both our current ability to be to cope with climate change, as well as forecast future needs that we might have in a changed world. Assuming, for example, that we have greater degrees of CO2, it's going to be a warmer planet. There's going to be considerably less available in terms of resources in certain areas of the world, for example, food. Because of denuded soil health, you may have less ability to be able to deal with the resilience you need under the effects of climate change. It also requires, as I was trying to point to as well, integrated planning, right? You cannot have these silos, and unfortunately, governments around the world are not geared or equipped to be able to deal with the interrelated domains, the integration that's needed. They still have different departments, they still have different ministries, they still have different institutions. In the academic world, the same thing. There's very little attention paid to how you bring these together and work on interdisciplinary and multidisciplinary processes and projects so that we do not become trapped in our own silos. So what I consider to be the imperative, the need of the hour, right, is to establish a common mission on sustainability. I mean, you have lots of slogans in India and in the US and elsewhere, but slogans are not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about a true, well-established, well-grounded mission that leads to an assessment of what our current and future needs are as a community, as a country, as a polity. And we have to have for that, and this is tough to do in a diverse metropolis like Mumbai, in a diverse country like India, just as tough to do in a diverse country like the US. A common language, a narrative, an acknowledgement by all strata of society. You know, part of the problem that we're dealing with in both democratic and not so democratic places is the need to enforce things from the top down. And under the effects of climate change, you have to be able to bring people in from the bottom up, because they are the ones suffering, or they are the ones dealing with the effects of climate change. So you've got to be able to have the acknowledgement by all strata. You can then have this bubble up from the bottom to the top, so that planning decisions can be made based on those needs. I don't know how many of you know about what the butterfly effect is, but the butterfly effect suggests that a small, trivial occurrence in a particular place can have massive consequences, unintended, non-linear consequences across the world. For example, and just as a pure example, flapping the wings of a bird in India could generate a tornado in Iowa, in the US. So the butterfly effect is pretty well understood now as being a non-linear process that starts with something very simple and inconsequential and leads to something much more consequential and serious. Now, I'll share with you an example of what happens with that butterfly effect. This is an iceberg that's 5 or 6 times the size of New York City, that's drifting away from the main glacier it was attached to, has now gone well beyond the boundaries, and this is, by the way, Antarctica, of northern Antarctica. It's going into warmer waters, right, which would mean that it will melt at an enormous rate. And the effects of this are being felt not just in the immediate environment where this iceberg has broken off, but in places as far removed as the northern part of the Yukon in Canada. And it's partly because it has wreaked havoc with the ocean currents that are traditionally part of the north-south movement of waters. So just an example of a butterfly effect. There are many, many, many other such effects. We don't quite fully understand how they operate in different circumstances, but I think it's worthy of some study, and it needs a lot more study. In India, the Center for Science and the Environment has revealed that extreme weather events occurred on 86% of the days between January and September of last year. 235 out of 273 days saw extreme weather events. Now, India is no stranger to many of those phenomena, but the cascading effects of them over the last few years are impossible to ignore. So you've got heat waves, floods, cyclones, lightning. 3,000 lives lost. And here's the other thing. We deal with the loss of life in almost a cavalier fashion. All over the world. And India is no exception to that. Nearly 2 million hectares of crops and 80,000 homes were destroyed. So this is not something trivial, right? This has been accumulating over a long period of time, and now it's suddenly becoming an accelerating and cascading series of effects. One of the things, by the way, that this report suggested also was the melting of a very significant glacier in the Hindu Kush Mountains of the Himalayas, region of the Himalayas. And that is likely to have, over a period of time, and possibly accelerated in a shorter period of time, some really catastrophic effects in terms of flooding, in terms of the destruction of agriculture, in terms of the destruction of wildlife, in terms of the reduction of forests in the area. So pretty significant effects. And here they are, right? The glacial retreat, the sea level rise. For example, coastal cities like Mumbai, I did in there, Chennai and Kolkata, are particularly vulnerable. Now, Bombay, what did Mumbai do? When it was Bombay, and even when it was the presidency, Bombay presidency, prior to independence, they decided on reclaiming land, land from the ocean, and built this extraordinary city, a series of causeways that came from the ocean. And if you notice what's going on the coastline of India, going north from Mumbai, there's a consistent erosion of the coast. And that erosion and the continuing depositing of silt has resulted in some pretty negative impacts. And that's all because we've been taking from the ocean as much as we have to build this extraordinary city. There's health risks. Now, I don't have to get into great detail, I will in a minute, about what happens as a consequence of dealing with the effects of climate change. And in particular, when you're under such extraordinary stress as I've just been nominating, right? The erratic monsoons, the incredible heat waves, the unbelievable loss of homes and lives and crops and forests. There is a price to be paid in terms of health. I don't have to tell you what pollution does. If you've seen how Delhi was transformed from a fairly green place of some natural beauty, if you will, into a place of considerable darkness because of pollution. The health risks that come from that cannot easily be quantified because they will be multiplied over a period of time. And of course, the loss of biodiversity, I don't have to tell you what that means. India is one of the most mega diverse places on the planet. And the loss of species results in more than just a loss of beauty. It results in a whole series of cascading changes further down the so-called natural supply chain. This is a map of India prior to the official start of the heat season to show you just how difficult it has become in a time of climate change. This map, you see the grades down there below on the right. Almost the entire subcontinent, with very few exceptions, was at high heat alerts before the official start of the heat season. So this is becoming now a part of our lives, right? And we've got to deal with that. This, by the way, is about microplastics. Now, a lot more study is needed on this, but basically what this suggests is that all of the products that we use, whether it's detergents or cooking ingredients or even spices in the packets they're in, when they're disposed of, they do not easily biodegrade. And what happens as a result of that is continuing evaporation of water into which these elements have been deposited then can form clouds that have microscopic particles of these plastics. And when it falls back down as rain or snow, you can imagine what that does on a continuing basis as a cycle of microplastics, both for marine life in the ocean and for human life on Earth. A recent study of the bodies of many, many individuals, I'm not talking about dead individuals, I'm talking about living individuals, has shown a high concentration of microplastics and the elements that are in microplastics. So it's very dangerous stuff, by the way, that we're dealing with now. And being aware means to be able to do something about it. And here's something that we can do with plastic pollution. It's talking from the best use to the worst use, top to bottom. And many of these terms are familiar to you all. You're dealing with refuse, rethinking and redesigning and conserving, reducing and reusing. There's incentives that are put in place to stop waste. There's sustainable design that is continually being emphasized and developed and refined. You have recycling, obviously, and then you have the regulatory issues of disposal. This is kind of a diagram that suggests that from the top to the bottom, there are lots of things that we should be able to do in dealing with the overall issue of reuse and adaptation and resilience in the face of plastic pollution. Now I'm going to just turn to what does it mean to develop a sustainable program, per se, in India and beyond. First of all, this diagram, which comes from TERI, the Energy and Resources Institute, talks about what sustainable development is. It is, or needs to be, socially equitable. In a country like India, where there's such dramatic degrees of inequality, and inequality, by the way, that now is a continuing feature of the world, you have to have things that are socially equitable. It has to be ecologically bearable, meaning there cannot be so much pain that it will not be adopted. And it has to be economically viable, because if it is not viable economically, it's not going to be pursued by those people who have the greatest contributions to be made to the development of the country as a whole. And here there's some inherent advantages and concerns that India has, right? So India has a long history with the economics of scarcity. An economist by the name of Gunnar Myrdal in the 60s, John Kenneth Galbraith in the 60s and 70s, talked about the economics of scarcity. And India is dealing with that economics of scarcity, including, by the way, a very strong tradition of recycling and reuse at a very cottage level, right? Not on an organized mass industrial level. That has been embedded in the psyche of consumers. Indians, as a consuming class, like to be able to reuse things. That may be less so now, with affluence becoming kind of a norm among a certain strata of society where disposable things are important to them as opposed to reuse. But I know growing up how important it was to save everything. Wrappers, rubber bands, plastic bags, etc., right? But what we're doing in dealing with the disposal of this stuff is leaving it to other people to dispose of. And I just showed you a diagram about microplastics. Well, you can imagine what it's like to be a rag picker. The rag pickers in India have to deal with appalling conditions. Lack of protective gear, no regular assessment of health, filthy conditions in which they have to both work and live, inability to be able to get fresh water and food at the locations at which they work, forget about the locations at which they live. We have to be able to deal with the disposal of waste as much as we do with the creation of it. I don't know if you know about who Amartya Sen is. Nobel Prize winner, remarkable Indian treasure, and someone whom I've met myself personally when I was in England. But Amartya Sen has written somewhat controversially on the subject of development. He's talked about human development, what he calls the capability approach, and development as freedom. He says if you don't have freedom, you don't have development. If you don't have development, you don't have freedom. And this continuing process that he talks about, and I would encourage you all to read his work, by the way, because I'm going to talk about this in a second. There is a potential opportunity here not to get trapped by thinking about development as being the antithesis of conservation or sustainability. The goals of sustainable development as a program are threefold. One, to ensure that the capabilities of all strata of society, all, are well integrated into our planning of various things, whether it's construction, whether it's housing, whether it's food distribution, whether it's coastal conditions for our fishermen, whether it's inland waterways, whether it's forests, whether it's the melting of glaciers, whether it's the availability of water. All of these things we need to be able to take into account in an integrated fashion to plan for the future and for the current situation that we find ourselves in. And that means who is going to be affected and who needs to be taken into account for any and all of those decisions. What are those decisions going to be, given that there's an effect that you do one thing here and something else happens there. So you've got to be able to anticipate what might happen. Why are we doing this in terms of current needs and future needs, and when do we start to do these things? And I can tell you, it's not just India, but around the world, with very few exceptions, this does not happen at all. They put together wonderful white papers and great planning documents, and it's all pretty academic at the end of the day. It does not take into account, for example, the needs of individual groups. You've got a rich tradition in India of NGOs. But if they're not spending their time raising money because they're so badly hit by the lack of resources, they're spending time going out begging for money, essentially, is what happens very often. And as a consequence, they don't have enough time to be able to become the voice of those that need to be heard. Now, I'm telling this to you folks not as a criticism, but just as having to deal with the reality of the conditions we find ourselves in. The second is to ensure that development is inclusive, right? It needs to reach all strata of society. It cannot just be about a particular strata. And in Bombay and in Mumbai, you see the horrors of inequality the further north you go, right? You see how affluence becomes concentrated. And I mean, the most ironic thing is having to go into a skyscraper, which is all fancy, and then looking down on a slum, right? Juxtaposition of those two things is jarring when you see the conditions under which those people live, very often not of their own choosing. Despite the fact that we like to be able to demonize squatting, that's a perfectly rational response to the lack of space. And finally, to ensure that educational campaigns are not sloganeering, coming here on my way here from the suburbs in the north, I saw a lot of slogans about not using plastic bags. And, not to deposit trash in containers, which, by the way, are few and far between. But first of all, who is going to read those? And secondly, apart from making you feel good that you have a slogan up there, what does it really do? Are you able to track this stuff? You folks are focusing on data, right? You're in the economic stream, or even if you're in the art stream, more in finance and commerce. Data is important to you. And I don't know how many people are actually tracking the effectiveness of these slogans that you see out there all over the place, right? As opposed to campaigns, continuing educational campaigns. I'm not saying this doesn't happen. My gosh, you had movements about the saving of the Narmada, for example, right? Narmada Bachao. That was a campaign. It was also an educational campaign because it went well beyond the Narmada to areas of the country which hadn't even heard of this movement before. So educational campaigns work. Singapore is often touted, even in India, as a great example. It is not. It's a very small place with a highly command-oriented structure and an ability to get people to act in a particular way because of the scope and scale that they're facing. India is a scale and scope of its own, and it should not be compared with anything other than its scope and scale, because that's the possibility that we are confronting as a great nation like this, that's on the ascendant and on the move. It has inherent advantages, as I've said, but the disadvantages are the fact that we indulge in too much sloganeering, too little campaigning of the right kind, too little integration of various and sundry elements, and too much siloization of the effects of our work. So, for example, in building and construction, right, the impact of buildings and constructions in a city like Mumbai are pretty terrible, right, both in terms of dust and debris and workers and the weather, and also in terms of infrastructure and materials that are being used, whether they're sustainable or not, or looking at the future forecasted needs of that particular unit of building and what it's likely to be. Very little attention paid to that, because it's all about getting it done, which in a country that needs housing like crazy is perfectly acceptable as an aspiration. But you cannot expect to be able to go forward in a sustainable way at this kind of a rate and process that we're currently pursuing. Sorry, I think the thing just went dead. I'm not sure why. I'm going to depend on the IT folks who are here to be able to get the presentation back up. In the meantime, let me just say that, I think part of the notion of a sustainable program, if you will call it that, has to do with the fact that students at your level, at the university and college level, need to engage actively in this process. And it's not just about joining movements and so on and so forth. It's about really engaging in continuing study and research into these effects. Take a small piece for yourself and research its effects. And the combined effect will be quite dramatic. Is this going to come up at all? because I'm almost done, but I've got a few important points I wanted to share with everybody. So. Okay, I'll tell you what, in the meantime, if there's any kind of questions or comments that you'd like to be able to make on what I've said or things that I've talked about or referred to, please feel free to bring them up. Any mics going around or people who want to be able to talk and okay, here we go. Presentations back up. So we stopped here, I think. And let me just now talk to you about the Sustainable Development Goals. This is a very ambitious program that most of the countries in the world came together to support and to develop and to measure and to monitor and to evaluate. And they're called the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals. That circle at the bottom there, I'll get into it in greater detail, is in fact the wheel of the SDGs. The goals of sustainable program development, not just the idea of sustainability, are in fact these. To ensure that the capabilities of everyone are well integrated into the planning horizons, to ensure that development is inclusive, as I said before, to ensure that educational campaigns and not sloganeering are embedded in the citizenry at every level. And finally, this one I think is really important, to ensure that resilience and adaptation are adopted. Here we go again. I seem to be attracting some kind of negative charge here. But anyway, so that last piece, resilience, you know, let me just tell you, given that heat map I showed you of India, and given all of the other things that you know about extreme weather events that have affected the subcontinent, every one of you is going to have a plan of dealing with this. How are you going to be resilient? It's not just about being what the heck kind of thing now. This is about really having a plan to deal with in your community, in your small unit, the issues of climate change and the impacts of that climate change. Whether it's just the availability of food or water or other things like that. I don't know, you know, many of you are probably conscious of the water scarcity and shortages that have bedeviled this metropolis for well over 100 years, right? That problem is only going to get more acute as cycles of drought and floods, drought and overabundance of water affect our entire ability to be able to cope with all of the issues that go with it, including drainage and sewage and so on and so forth. The presentation, is it going to be coming up here in a minute? There it is, hopefully. Sorry about the issues that you're facing, by the way. Hopefully we'll be able to get through this very quickly. Okay, there we go. Thank you. And here are the SDGs. And you go from left to right, and I know you can't see them, but They're incredibly important measures of human wellness and planetary health. And they're about zero hunger, about education, about gender equality, etc. On the right, by the way, is our impact report. And our report will be out here in the next month and a half or two. We have started to track our own adherence and success and measuring our own impact along the lines of the SDGs. So I would urge you all to get into understanding the SDGs. Whatever it is that you do, you have to be aware and conscious of the importance of SDGs. Where do we go from here, right? This is a kind of action issue now. As a community, and every one of you needs to have some way of attaching yourself to this, we have to be focused on a sustainable and sustained impact-focused program. Impact is a big deal. It's not just a word. It has consequences, very specific consequences. It has to be holistic. That means it has to adopt resilience for all current and future events. Resilience is how do you adapt and stay consistent and sustainable over a period of time, given these impacts that you're going to be facing, especially in vulnerable areas. I know you know about the big project in Dharavi, right? Whatever happens in that particular project, I will tell you that this is one of the most incredibly well-organized communities you'd ever have the opportunity to witness before they disappear entirely into their towers that they're being promised. It's worth understanding how the economics of Dharavi works. It is a really remarkable experience that I've had personally in being able to look and see what they do as a commercial enterprise, which everybody participates in. But they're also extremely vulnerable to climate change. They're extremely vulnerable to heat. They're extremely vulnerable to water scarcity. They're extremely vulnerable to flooding, for example, on the creek. They're extremely, that was caused by the huge monsoon floods that you had. They're increasingly vulnerable to food availability and expense, and so on. Some examples here that I pictorially display at the bottom: the scourge heat, which is a big deal, and I would not underestimate that. To focus on reforestation, soil health, pollution. I noticed that in Delhi, for example, very little is being done on a longer-term basis to combat that issue, partly because it's geographically in a difficult situation, being as flat as it is. And the use of heat-creating concrete corridors that you see all over this city, for example, and islands. There are many good examples from science, by the way. Dealing with coastal resilience. You know, we have a fishing community around the coast of India, which is incredibly vulnerable to the loss of habitats for the fish that they depend on, to ocean warming, to the ability for algae to destroy
हम लोग बोलेंगे गर्ल, आप बोलते हो ना, गर्ल जो हैं उनका सम्मान करना बहुत ज़रूरी है। आप उनका सम्मान करिए, देखिए वो आपके कदम से कदम मिलाकर आपके साथ चलेंगी, तो आप भी आगे बढ़ोगे और वो भी आगे बढ़ेगी। तो इस तरह के कार्य हमको करते रहना चाहिए। मैं तो ऐसे बहुत बोल सकती हूँ, बोलती जाती हूँ। एक बार ऐसा ही हुआ, एक जगह मैं बोलती जा रही थी, महिलाओं में से एक उठी, उसके हाथ में इतना बड़ा चाकू और उस सीधा मंच पर आ गई मेरे पास। मैं मारे डर के थर थर काँपने लगी कि अब मेरा क्या होगा। तो वो बोली, वो धीरे से मेरे कान में आकर बोली, मंजू जी आपको जितना बोलना है बोलती, बिल्कुल मत डरिए, मैं उसको ढूंढ रहा, आपको यहाँ बुलाया है। तो मुझे किसने बुलाया है? तो इस तरह के हम लोग बचत घट योजनाएं बनाते हैं, जहाँ जिन महिलाओं का एक एक ग्रुप होता है, ग्रुप के माध्यम से हम उनको एक फंड देते हैं, फंड के माध्यम से वो अपना स्टार्टअप करती हैं। हमने जो लड़कियां 8, 9, 10 के बाद जो घर में बैठी थी, जो एग्ज़ाम नहीं देती थी, उन बाहर निकाला। ऐसी 100 लड़कियों को हमने बीए कराया। उसमें से जो सबसे हमारी बोलेंगे ना स्वीट 16 थी, 86 ईयर्स की, जिसने बीए किया, और उसको इतनी खुशी हुई कि मेरे पति का ये सपना था कि मैं बीए करूं, और आप लोढ़ा फाउंडेशन के माध्यम से मेरा ये काम हुआ। तो हम हर उस चीज़ को करना चाहते हैं जो लोगों के दिल के करीब है, और मेरा बहुत विस्तृत काम है, हर रोज़ एक नया काम मैं जोड़ती हूँ अपने फाउंडेशन में। तो इसी तरह से हम काम करते जाते हैं, और हम सबको भी ये कोशिश करनी चाहिए कि हम किसी न किसी की मदद करें। हमारे भारत को अगर विकसित करना है तो हमें किसी की मदद करनी होगी कि कांटे आते हैं तो आने दो, तुम सिर्फ एक फूल खिला दो, अंधेरे को कोसो मत, तुम सिर्फ एक दीप जला दो। एक फूल की भी सुगंध सूची दूर दूर तक जाती है, एक दीप की कनक मलिका तम पर विजय मनाती है। जो एक एक फूल खिला दे हम सब मिलकर तो चीर बसंत कहलाए, और जो एक एक दीप हम सब मिलकर जला देना तो अंधकार का नामो निशान मिट जाए, अंधकार का नामो निशान मिट जाए। तो आइए आज इस कार्यक्रम में जो कि आपने स्वयं आयोजित किया है, विकसित भारत में, हम आज सब एक प्रण करके यहाँ जाएं कि जब जब मौका मिलेगा हम हमारे देश के लिए ऐसा कुछ करेंगे कि हमारा देश हम पर गर्व कर सके। जय हिंद, भारत माता की जय।
Thank you, ma'am. Guys, let's have one last round of applause for ma'am. So, Mr. Agarwal, you founded this Mumbai Sustainability Center, and I'm not sure that all of our students are aware of what activities you undertake there. So, could you tell us more about this work that you do at the Mumbai Sustainability Center, and what inspired you to start it?
Okay, I'll start with what work we do. So I've been an environmental activist all my life, 25 years after college itself. And मेरा एक मानना रहा है मैम कि जो शहर हैं, we feel, I mean sustainable development, that कि हमको एक we should have a sense of gratitude towards the planet. On a daily basis, from the air we are breathing to the food we had, हमने नहीं बनाया है, ये हमको प्रकृति दे रही है, वी आर गेटिंग इट फ्रॉम नेचर। और एक हमारी इतनी सी वो बनती है कि हम उसका एक आदर करें और उसके मतलब वी डोंट ट्रीट इट बैडली। एंड द थॉट फॉर मुंबई सस्टेनेबिलिटी सेंटर इज़ रियली दैट cities hold the key to meeting all our climate action goals and our sustainable development goals, because cities disproportionately more consume resources compared to rural areas. I was speaking with Rohit about our work in Jawahar, Palghar. When I'm with tribal families, I realize कि उनका तो कुछ भी consumption नहीं है. Neither are they. We are sitting here consuming air conditioning. We come by. We use so much more petrol, diesel, CNG. They're not consuming anything at all compared to us. And most of them are much happier than us. And here in the city, we are depressed and we are looking for self-actualization and so much more, doing yoga, so many things. And people in the rural areas, not all of them are happy, but so cities have a very huge carbon footprint. They have a very huge resource footprint. And if we design cities efficiently, then and make them sustainable, then that's the only chance we have to save the planet. Unfortunately, and also Indian cities, because India has been late to urbanization. America, Europe is 60-70% urbanized, but India is still 30-40% urbanized. By 2047, we would have crossed 50% urbanization. We are right now 140 crore people, we might become 145-50, which means 75-80 crore people will be staying in cities in India of 2047. And we need clean air for those people. We need good public transport. We need those cities to be nice, livable. We need better waste management in those cities. If you've still not gone to Devna dumping ground or any of our dumping grounds, look at the terrible condition. Look at the terrible condition of the 5 rivers in Mumbai, Mithi, Oshiwara, Poisar, Dahisar. All the rivers are in a terrible condition. We take fresh water from Vetarna, Tansa, Bhatsa, and then we use them in our toilets and bathroom and kitchen and then flush everything, and everything goes to the sea and the creeks. I mean, we have some sewage treatment plants, but they're not doing so well. So the idea is that cities is where you need to do everything right if you want the best quality of life for the largest number of people, and if you want to reduce the impact on the planet. And this can be consciously done by all of you, the students, by individual actions, but much, much more important is the role of the government. I've been giving a simple example and about the MTHL Mumbai Trans-Harbour Link for past, this is the last, I'll stop at this example. अभी मुंबई ट्रांस-हार्बर लिंक मैडम लॉन्च हुआ, 18,000 करोड़ हमने खर्च किए, बहुत गर्व की बात है, हमने बहुत अच्छा बनाया. लेकिन मैं एक उदाहरण दे रहा था कि आज की तारीख में मुंबई ट्रांस-हार्बर लिंक को 30,000 गाड़ियाँ यूज़ कर रही हैं, 30,000 लोग आ रहे जा रहे हैं, वो 50,000 हो जाएगा, 70,000 हो जाएगा. इन 70,000 लोगों के लिए हम 18,000 रुपये खर्च करने के लिए तैयार हैं. आप हमारी बस की सेवा देखिए, BST. एक टाइम था 1990-2000 तक 45 लाख लोग, 45 lakh people used to use BST every day. We had a fleet of 4,500 या 5,000 बसें थी. उन सब बसों में 45 लाख लोग दिन के आते जाते थे. और हम सोचते हैं कि विकसित या मतलब जो डेवलपमेंट होता है वो सिर्फ धनी लोगों से होता है, जो नरिमन पॉइंट पे बैंड्रा कुर्ला कॉम्प्लेक्स में कांच की बिल्डिंगों में काम करते हैं, बड़ी सैलरी मिलती है. लेकिन कोई भी एक बिल्डिंग में अगर आप ऑफिस स्टाफ नहीं आए, आप समझिए कि 2 प्यून नहीं आए एक दिन, तो हाहाकार मच जाती है ऑफिस में कि मेरी चाय कौन लाएगा, मेरा दरवाज़ा कौन खोलेगा. हाँ, ये सब लोग मर्सिडीज़ बेंज में नहीं आते हैं, ये लोग लोकल ट्रेन और बस से आते हैं. लेकिन दुख की बात है कि पिछले 10 साल में हमने जानबूझ के अपनी BST की सेवा को ख़राब से ख़राब कर दिया है. 4,500 बसों से 3,900 पे आए, 3,900 से अब हम 2,900 बसों पे हैं. सिर्फ 2 मिलियन 20 से 25 लाख लोग आज ट्रैवल कर रहे हैं. आप कोई भी बस स्टॉप पे जाइए पूरे बॉम्बे में, लोग आधा घंटे बस के लिए वेट कर रहे हैं. आज मुंबई ट्रांस-हार्बर लिंक में हम बोल रहे हैं कि लोगों का 30 मिनट बच रहा है, लेकिन कितने लोगों का? 50,000 लोगों का 30 मिनट बच रहा है. और BST के बस स्टॉप पे हर दिन 20 लाख लोगों का 30 मिनट खराब हो रहा है. और सिंपल है, आपको सिर्फ 2-3 हज़ार बसें खरीदनी है और फटाफट बसों को लगा देना है. 2-3 हज़ार बसें कितने में आती हैं? आप इकोनॉमिक्स स्टूडेंट्स हैं, आप अपना से कॉस्ट निकाल सकते हैं. तो वो पैसा खर्च करके हम इमीडिएटली 25-30 लाख लोगों की ज़िंदगी में इम्प्रूवमेंट ला सकते हैं. 30 मिनट दिन का बचेगा तो वो अपने फैमिली के साथ बिता पाएंगे, शायद कुछ और काम कर पाएंगे. तो दीज आर ऑल सस्टेनेबल डेवलपमेंट के दिस थिंग. एंड एज फार एज इंस्पिरेशन गोज, आई थिंक दैट्स अ लॉन्ग स्टोरी, बट इट्स बीन अ चाइल्डहुड sense of gratitude towards the planet which has enabled me to do this work. Thank you. मैडम, ये अभी बहुत ही हमने तो इस पर बहुत रिसर्च कर ली है. थोड़ी बहुत मेट्रो की लॉबी है जो चाहती है कि अगर लोग सफ़र करेंगे तो हम अपने मेट्रो के खर्चे को जायज़ बता पाएंगे. बहुत सारे कारण हैं. ये हमको तो इमीडिएटली मतलब ऐसा है कि बॉम्बे शहर में आप लोढ़ा जी से बात कीजिए, 1000 बसें इमीडिएट खरीदवा दीजिए. हाँ, बढ़ानी चाहिए. एक बस की कीमत 50 लाख से ज़्यादा की नहीं है. 1000 बसें फटाफट खरीद लेंगे. और हम इतना पैसा है BMC में, सबके पास पैसा है. कितना पैसा हम रोड पे बर्बाद कर रहे हैं, ख़राब रोड बना रहे हैं, ये कर रहे हैं. उतने में हम बसें खरीद लेंगे तो आम इंसान जो 30-30 मिनट बस स्टॉप पे खड़ा है और शाम के टाइम पे बसें ठूस के जा रही हैं, आप देखो. और महिलाओं की सबसे ज़्यादा दुर्गति है उन बसों में घुसना. तो 1000 बसें तो इमीडिएट खरीद लेनी चाहिए. महिलाओं की बसें अलग होनी चाहिए. और आप तो क्या हो गया कि पिछले 10 साल में जो महिलाओं का पार्टिसिपेशन है इकोनॉमी में बहुत ज़्यादा बढ़ गया है. पहले कुछ 5-10% था, अब ऑलमोस्ट 50% महिलाएं हो गई हैं. तो पब्लिक ट्रांसपोर्ट में अभी भी ट्रेन में उतनी ही एक कोच है, बस भी उतनी कम है. तो महिलाएं सबसे ज़्यादा इसमें सफ़र कर रही हैं. घर में भी जाके काम करना है, सब तो डबल प्रेशर है.
So, Mr. Joy Sir, you're the first vegan to summit Mount Everest. So, mountaineering is a very niche interest, and what exactly ignited your passion to start mountaineering?
First, I just want to touch upon what Rishi said. He said that हमारा cities में बहुत सारा consumption है, and that when we go into the villages or when we go into the rural areas, वहाँ consumption बहुत कम है. The problem is कि इसके वजह से जो हो रहा है, जो climate crisis हो रहा है या जो भी हम देख रहे हैं, that is impacting them first before us. So हमारे consumption patterns के वजह से उनको impact हो रहा है, जबकि वो लोग तो उतना consume भी नहीं कर रहे हैं. तो उनकी तो कोई गलती भी नहीं है, पर वो लोग उसके आफ्टर इफेक्ट्स भुगत रहे हैं हमारे वजह से. सो आई थिंक दिस इज समथिंग वी ऑल इन दिस रूम, ऑल अक्रॉस द वर्ल्ड नीड टू कीप इन माइंड दैट हमें भी कुछ करना चाहिए. दैट हमारे मिस्टेक की वजह से अगर कोई दूसरा अंडर इतना स्ट्रेस है, तो वी कैन डेफिनेटली मेक चेंजेस इन आवर लाइफ. गोइंग टू माउंट एवरेस्ट एंड व्हाट इग्नाइटेड माई जर्नी इन टू इट, it was just a very by chance moment of my life. I was just telling to Rishi and Mr. HOD, back in the room, that I come from a background where I was a software engineer, and then back in 2009 I was working as the director of India operation of a Bombay-based MNC. Life बहुत ही अच्छी थी. ऑनेस्टली कोई क्वार्टर लाइफ क्राइसिस या मिड लाइफ क्राइसिस नहीं थी कि मैंने सोचा अभी पहाड़ों में जाके मैं कुछ आंसर ढूंढने की ट्राई करूँ, ऐसा कुछ नहीं था. आई हैड जस्ट गॉटन मैरिड एंड वाइफ और मैं बैठ के सिर्फ डिस्कस कर रहे थे कि अभी नेक्स्ट कहाँ वेकेशन पे जाना है. सो वाइफ सेड मैंने ज़िंदगी में कभी स्नो नहीं देखा है. मैंने बोला मुझे भी स्नो देख के ऐसे तो 20 साल हो गए, बिकॉज आई हैड सीन स्नो बैक इन 1988 इन मनाली व्हेन आई वाज अ किड एज अ वेकेशन पे. तो हमने बोला चलो जाते हैं शिमला इन द विंटर्स एंड वील सी सम स्नो. So both of us landed in Shimla. For the first 6 days, we saw no snow. Imagine, when I think back upon those times, मैं complain कर रहा था होटल वाले को, क्या यार हीटर भी नहीं चल रहा है तुम्हारा, पानी भी नहीं आ रहा है गर्म पानी. एंड अभी मैं सालों साल 28,000 फीट पे 26,000 फीट के कैंप में 4 लोगों के साथ 30 दिन बिना नहाए हम लोग क्लाइंबिंग कर रहे हैं. तो टू थिंक ऑफ दैट टाइम. On the last day of my Shimla trip, we met one guy who said मैं आपको snow दिखा दूँगा. So हमने बोला चलो. So we drove on the old Hindustan-Tibet highway and we went to this place called Narkanda. Narkanda is this very small village, like maybe 30-40 homes in the village back then, at least. Now it's slightly bigger. तो हम नारकंदा पहुँच गए और 360 डिग्री व्यू ऑफ हिमालय मिला हमें. Amazing snow, amazing mountains, बड़े mountains. And we were like super excited. तो ड्राइवर ने बोला चलो अभी घर जाते हैं. I'm like भाई तूने बोला तो स्नो टच करवाएगा, स्नो देखना तो हम यूट्यूब पे देख लेते. तो फिर ड्राइवर ने बोला चलो. यहाँ से 8 किलोमीटर दूर हाटू माता का टेम्पल है, ऑन द टॉप ऑफ अ पीक कॉल्ड हाटू पीक. सो 8 किलोमीटर का रोड है, हम ड्राइव करके टेम्पल पे जाते हैं. टेम्पल के आसपास आपको थोड़ा स्नो मिल जाएगा, आप खेल लेना उसमें. सो हमने ड्राइव करना शुरू किया और अबाउट हाफ अ किलोमीटर इनटू द ड्राइव ऑलरेडी 1.5 फीट स्नो आ गया था. और वो बंदा लेके आया था अपनी ऑल्टो. अभी ऑल्टो कहाँ स्नो पे चल के हमें ऊपर पहुँचाने वाली है. तो उसने बोला अभी हम ऊपर जाए या नीचे बैठे, तुम्हें तो स्नो में खेलना था, जाओ अभी जाके खेल के आओ. सो वी वेंट एंड वी वर प्लेइंग इन द स्नो, वी वर एंजॉइंग आवर टाइम, लाइफ वॉज गुड. एंड देन आई डोंट नो वॉट हैपेंड, बट आई टोल्ड माई वाइफ मज़ा आ रहा है, चलो थोड़ा और आगे चलते हैं. हमने ड्राइवर को बोला 15 मिनट में आ रहे हैं. And we started walking ahead. 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, and 4 hours later, we were standing on top of Hatu Peak, just near the Hatu Mata temple. And if you have to ask me one point of my life that changed the direction of my entire life, it has to be that moment. I can distinctly remember that moment. I can literally live it right now. मैं वहाँ in that moment. And I was able to exist in the microsecond of this present. I thought, this is amazing. It would be so awesome if I could feel like this for the rest of my life. And that's the kind of state of mind I was able to achieve. And that's the, maybe I'll, find the same joy that I found on the top of that mountain. But unfortunately, I did not. 43 years के है और मुझसे 20 टाइम ज़्यादा पैसा कमाते हैं. और मैं उनको पूछता हूँ एवरेस्ट क्या है भाई तुम्हारे लाइफ का, और उनको भी पता नहीं आज तक एवरेस्ट. तो ऐसा नहीं है कि एवरेस्ट मिल जाएगा. बट इफ देयर इज वन टेक अवे दैट यू वांट टू टेक फ्रॉम मी, प्लीज टेक अ स्टेप बैक, फिगर आउट व्हाट योर एवरेस्ट इन लाइफ इज. डज नॉट हैव टू बी क्लाइंबिंग माउंट एवरेस्ट. वो तो मेरा एवरेस्ट था. आप अपना एवरेस्ट फिगर आउट करो, जो भी वो एवरेस्ट हो. It could be, acing the B school, or it could be, solving a real world problem, your own next startup. When I found my Everest, I found that passion and that drive to relentlessly pursue that Everest. And I truly believe that आपको जब भी अपना एवरेस्ट मिल जाएगा तो आप में भी वो सेम फीलिंग को बहुत ज़्यादा फ्रूटफुल और एंजॉयबल बना पाओगे. So that's what I had. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your journey. So Mr. Agarwal, Mr. Joycer, Dr. Lodha, so you guys are from very diverse backgrounds. So what common challenges have you faced in implementing sustainability practices in your respective fields? And is there some collaborative approach that can be taken to address these challenges?
So it's a good question because मैं सबको वही बोलता रहता हूँ कि अब जब आपको शराब बेचनी है उसके लिए बिजनेस मॉडल है, बात करते हैं. कचरे की समस्या को सुधारने की बात करते हैं. हमारा एक प्रोजेक्ट है जो हम पदयात्रियों के लिए काम कर रहे हैं कि शहर में अच्छे फुटपाथ होने चाहिए. हर वार्ड ऑफिस में जाके हम बात करते हैं कि यहाँ पे खड्डा है, यहाँ पे ऋषि फुटपाथ तो अभी भी बॉम्बे में ख़राब ही हैं, तो आपने किया क्या? हाँ, तो ये जो एक बिज़नेस मॉडल की प्रॉब्लम है कि आज 1 करोड़ लोग बॉम्बे में रहते हैं और बहुत मेहनती लोग हैं. इन 1 करोड़ लोगों की मेहनत से और हर दिन कहीं ना कहीं खर्चा कर रहे हैं. आज आप मैकडोनल्ड पे जा रहे हो, फिर ईरोस में आप पिक्चर देखने जाओगे, सब चीज़ों पे खर्चा कर रहे हो. लेकिन जो पर्यावरण के लिए या समाज के लिए काम कर रहे हैं, मैडम ने CBOs की बात की, आप सेल्फ हेल्प ग्रुप सेटअप कर रहे हो, ये सब कर रहे हो, तो इन सब का कोई बिजनेस मॉडल नहीं होता. इसलिए हमको वो एक मैस्लोज पिरामिड बोलते हैं. देयर इज़ अ मैस्लोज पिरामिड कि आप, और ज़रूरी नहीं है कि आपको करोड़पति होना ज़रूरी है. अब हम जैसे वॉकिंग प्रोजेक्ट चलाते हैं, उसका हमारा एनुअल सब्सक्रिप्शन है 365. ENY में इधर उधर जाके काम करते हैं, बोलते सर मज़ा बिल्कुल नहीं आ रहा है, लेकिन EMI पे करना है, अपना महीने का खर्चा निकालने का, तो इसलिए हम ज़बरदस्ती काम कर रहे हैं. तो अगर शहर को एज अ वॉलंटियर भी लेना है तो मेरे को एक फंक्शनल ऑफिस चाहिए जिसमें 5 लोग फुल टाइम काम कर रहे हैं. वो आपको बता सकते हैं कि हाँ सर पिछले 5 साल से हम जो काम कर रहे हैं उसमें ये वॉलंटियरिंग नहीं हो पाता.
अब आज हमारे जैसे लोढ़ा फाउंडेशन में है तो आज 50 लोग काम कर रहे हैं. आज कोविड में ऐसा था कि हमारे मतलब एक भी एम्प्लॉय ने छुट्टी नहीं ली. आपको मैं बताऊं, कोविड के दिनों में हमने घर घर जाकर सबको अनाज पहुंचाया है, फ्रूट पहुंचाए हैं, सब्जी पहुंचाई है. अगर किसी को वैक्सीनेशन लगाए, हमने 35,000 से अधिक वैक्सीनेशन लगाए. और किसी को भी फ़ोन आता कि हमें सैनिटाइज़ करना है तो BMC को फ़ोन नहीं करते, तो वो सीधा हमें फ़ोन, लोगों को आप भेजिए, वो हमको एकदम अच्छे से कर देंगे. टंकियाँ साफ़ करवानी है तो वो हमको फ़ोन करते हैं. हमने रातों रात खड़े होकर कोविड सेंटर बनाया. तो ये मैं नहीं कर सकती थी, मैं सिर्फ पैसा डाल सकती हूँ, लेकिन जब तक मेरे आसपास ऐसे लोग नहीं होंगे जो कि तन मन से मेरे साथ काम करना चाहते हैं तो मैं कर ही नहीं सकती हूँ. तो लोग बहुत आवश्यक हैं. लोगों को आना चाहिए कि हमको ये काम करना है. ज़रूरी नहीं है कि आप उसको प्रोफेशन बनाओ. आप अपने दिन का 2 घंटा दीजिए, जैसे वॉलंटरी कहते हैं ना, कि वहाँ जाकर दीजिए कि हमको क्या करना है. जैसे आप रोज़ हमें कोशिश करें कि हम ये पेड़ लगाएं. पेड़ लगाने भी बहुत ज़रूरी है. जितने पेड़ कट रहे हैं अपने जीवन काल में कम से कम हम 5 पेड़ तो लगाएं. और विशेषकर पीपल के यही नौकरी मिलेगी, और इसमें हम सालों साल अपने बर्बाद कर देते हैं और डिप्रेशन में आ जाते हैं. इससे तो अच्छा नौकरी नहीं करना. आप अपना स्टार्टअप करिए ना, छोटे से में करिए कि आप किसी को नौकरी दे रहे हैं. मैं एक समोसा वाला था, ठेला लेकर एक ऑफिस के बाहर वो बैठता था, तो वहाँ के सारे लोग आते थे और उससे समोसा खाते थे. तो एक वहाँ पर एक क्लर्क था, धीरे धीरे वो मैनेजर हो गया. सालों के बाद उस समोसे वाले की वो ठेले से एक बड़ी सी दुकान हो गई. तो बड़ी सी दुकान हो गई तो वो ठेला वाला आकर बोलता, अरे तुम तो आज भी, मैनेजर बोलता, आज भी समोसा बेच रहे हो. मेरा बेटा तो सीधा आएगा ऑफिस में बैठेगा और तुम्हारा कोई बात नहीं, काम बना लीजिए. तो जो काम की जो शुरुआत होती है ना, अपने पैशन से हो, करना आनंद से हो, तो उसका समापन हमेशा उपलब्धि की अनुभूति के साथ होता है. तो अपने काम को छोटा, चाहे कोई भी छोटा सा भी काम करो, लेकिन उसे बिल्कुल नहीं, और जो आपका पैशन है उसी को ही करो. देखना आपको एक भी दिन काम नहीं करना पड़ेगा. जैसे इन्होंने कहा कि मैंने अपना एवरेज ढूंढ लिया, वैसे मैं भी कहती हूँ कि मैंने भी अपना एवरेज ढूंढा. मैं 18 साल की थी, मेरी शादी हो गई, 19 साल में पहला बच्चा, 21 साल में दूसरा बच्चा, और मैं फर्स्ट ईयर पास करते सेकंड ईयर में पढ़ते पढ़ते शादी हो गई मेरे। मुझे ना तो कभी मैंने कॉलेज और उसमें ना स्टेज पे गई, ना कभी माइक मैंने हाथ में पकड़ा था। लेकिन फिर मेरे बच्चे थोड़े से बड़े हो गए, मैं वकील बनना तो चाहती थी लेकिन वकील नहीं बन सकी, वकील के घर चली गई। मेरे ससुर जी रिटायर्ड चीफ जस्टिस रहे हैं, तो फिर मैं अपने ससुर जी को देखती थी कि वो मंच पर बोलते हैं, तो मुझे लगा यार मैं क्यों नहीं बोल सकती हूँ। और मैंने फिर उसके लिए है ना अपनी मेहनत शुरू कर दी, अच्छी अच्छी किताबें पढ़ने लगी, अच्छे अच्छे जो भी कोर्स होते थे उसे अपनी डायरी में लिखने लगी। और फर्स्ट डे मैंने अपने आप से वादा किया, जब मैं मंच पर आई, मैं कभी भी कोई भी पन्ना लेकर मंच पे बात नहीं करूँगी। मैं जितना भी बोलूँगी, भले 1 लाइन बोलूँ या 10 लाइन, बिना देखे बोलूँगी, लोगों की आंखों में आंखें डालकर बात करूँगी। और आज मैं ये कर सकी हूँ, उन सबके आशीर्वाद से थोड़ा बहुत मैं बोल सकी हूँ, तो ये मैंने इसको अपना पैशन बना लिया। पोइट्री करने लगी, कविताएं और किताबें लिखने लगी फिर, और मैंने कई ऐसे मंच बनाए जहाँ पर कि हाउसवाइफ को मैंने ये सारा स्टेज दिया, जहाँ आकर वो अपनी कि जिसको कुछ नहीं आता था उसने सोचा मेरा ये एवरेस्ट है और मेरे एवरेस्ट में मैं अपने लोगों को शामिल करूँगी। हम कई बार बोलते हैं ना कि वुमेन एम्पावरमेंट, एक्चुअली वुमेन एम्पावरमेंट क्या होता है? जब एक महिला दूसरी महिला का हाथ पकड़कर उसके आगे बढ़ाती है तो वो वुमेन एम्पावरमेंट होता है। तो हम सबको भी मिलकर ये कोशिश करनी, जो मुझे आता है मैं तुझे सिखाऊं, उसमें शामिल करूं, हो सकता है कि तुझे भी वो अच्छा लगता हो। तो इस तरह से एक दूसरे का हाथ पकड़कर हम जीवन में आगे बढ़ सकते हैं। और ज़रूर से अपने एवरेस्ट तो हमें ढूंढना ही चाहिए, उसमें जो आनंद है वो किसी और में नहीं है।
Thank you, Ms. Lodha. Okay. Mr. Joyce, would you like to share your perspective on these challenges faced?
I'll try and finish it in 2-3 minutes because otherwise I'll go on another story. So recently there has been this viral news on internet that climbers on Everest have to bring back their poop down from the mountain. Has everyone heard about that? It has now gone viral all across the world. That also means that till date we were not bringing our poop back down the mountain, right? That also means that every year there are 1,500 people on Everest. And if 1,500 people on Everest are there for even 5 days, then do the math, 1,500 into 5, into at least one time, maybe twice in a day we are pooping. And that much amount of poop we are putting on the glaciers of Everest. But now if you extrapolate that to mountains all across the world, trails all across the world, treks all across the world, imagine the amount of stuff we are going and leaving on those mountains. Right? So ये काफ़ी challenging है, क्योंकि इस पे काफ़ी debate होता है कि आप अपना poop कैसे लेके आओगे. Right? अभी पहले वो poop को आपने किया, आपने किधर उसको स्टोर किया, अभी आपको हंसने क्यों आ रहा है, बट फिर मैं नीचे गया और नीचे मुझे समझो कोई बेस कैंप पे चेकिंग करने आ रहा है, कुंतल आपका पूप चाहिए मुझे. मैंने बोला मैं गया ही नहीं था 5 दिन, मैंने कुछ किया ही नहीं. वो क्या बोल सकता है, मुझे कुछ नहीं बोल सकता है. राइट? या फिर मैंने बोला गिर गया मेरे बैग में से. राइट? मतलब एनफोर्स नहीं कर सकते. सो यहाँ मैं ऑनेस्टली एक दूसरा एंगल लूँगा. आई फील दैट ये सब at the end of the day it comes down to accountability and ownership on part of the climber themselves. अगर मैं कहीं पहाड़ पे क्लाइंबिंग करने जा रहा हूँ तो why would I want to damage that environment? राइट? अभी जैसे एवरेस्ट का ही ले लो केस के एवरेस्ट का जो ग्लेशियर है, वो ग्लेशियर का जो मेल्ट वाटर है वो डाउनस्ट्रीम काफ़ी विलेजेस में पानी की तरह यूज़ हो रहा है. जैसे जैसे वो पूरा ग्लेशियर गंदा होता जाएगा और डैमेज होता जाएगा, वैसे वैसे डाउनस्ट्रीम भी सारे विलेजेस को प्रॉब्लम होना शुरू हो जाएगा, बिकॉज दैट ड्रिंकिंग वाटर सप्लाई इज गेटिंग खराब हो रहा है. एंड दिस इज हैपनिंग ऑल अक्रॉस इंडिया हिमालय, ऑल अक्रॉस नेपाल हिमालय. अभी अगर आप साउथ अमेरिका की बात करो, नॉर्थ अमेरिका की बात करो, यूरोप की बात करो, रशिया की बात करो, वहाँ जब भी आप माउंटेन्स में क्लाइंबिंग करने जाते हो ना, तो आपको आपका नंबर 2 नीचे लेके आना पड़ता है. एंड लोग करते भी है. तो मतलब हमारा, मुझे कभी कभी कैसा लगता है ना, इंडिया में जाएंगे तो सब कचरा फेंको. जैसे ही अमेरिका गए ना, अरे कहीं कचरा नहीं फेंकने का भाई. जैसे हम इंडिया में, तो हमारी ओनरशिप और अकाउंटेबिलिटी चली गई. इंडिया से बाहर गए, अरे नहीं साफ रखना है. अरे हमारी कंट्री है, हमारा घर है, हमारी सिटी है. अगर मैं कभी आपने अपने घर में अंदर कूड़ा फेंका है क्या? नहीं. वहां तो सब झाड़ू फट्टा मस्त मारते, सब क्लीन एंड नीट रखते. जैसे ही घर से बाहर रखे, सब जगह कचरा फेंको. पहाड़ पे जाके कचरा फेंको, इधर कचरा फेंको, उधर कचरा फेंको. I think it is up to us, we as humans, we as climbers, I think if we start taking accountability, we start taking ownership and start treating our mountains as our home, start seeing mountains as our home, then we will stop doing that. Then we will stop damaging them and doing these things. It is not very hard. 5 दिन में टोटल 2-3 किलो से ज़्यादा पूप जनरेट नहीं हो सकता है, ठीक है. वो 2-3 किलो को अच्छे से पैक करके मैं बैग में डाल के नीचे इजीली लेके आ सकता हूँ, एंड आई कैन इजीली टेक इट टू अ नियरेस्ट स्टेशन वेयर इट कैन ऑल बी डिस्पोज्ड ऑफ इन अ प्रॉपर फैशन, such that it is not damaging the environment, it is not damaging the glacier, right? So all of this can be done, but the onus cannot be on government to come and enforce, because that is not possible, honestly, in my mind, in my opinion. It has to come from within. और ये हमें अवेयरनेस बढ़ाने की बहुत ज़रूरत है इस सब चीज़ में. ये तो मैंने लोकली एवरेस्ट की बात की. कचरा इज़ अ प्रॉब्लम ऑल अक्रॉस द प्लानट. हम बात भी कर रहे थे, यू वर टॉकिंग अबाउट योर प्रोजेक्ट ऑफ द रैपर्स एंड एवरीथिंग, राइट? सो it is a problem all across the planet. The problem is the same, kachra. So that's like, I was, kind of sharing it from a challenging perspective of Everest, right? क्योंकि बहुत difficult है वहाँ. आप 26,000 फीट पे अभी आपकी इतनी ठंडी में इतनी फटके आ गई है कि अभी आप क्या करने वाले हो, लाइक कैसे ये सब करोगे, राइट? कैसे ये सब मैनेज करोगे? आपका दिमाग ही काम नहीं कर रहा है. लोगों को शूलेस बांधने में 15 मिनट लगती है at 26,000 feet. How are you going to start thinking about some of these, complex issues? But I feel if we as mountaineers go well trained and with a mindset that boss हमें conserve करना इस जगह को, that this is beauty and that this needs to be there for generations and generations to come, for them to experience and enjoy. I think हमें वो ownership और accountability लेनी है हर facet of life में, not just climbing Mount Everest, but it starts from our day here in the city.
स्वच्छ भारत का जो हमारा स्वच्छ भारत को हमने दिया, और हम अपने घर को क्यों ना, ये भारत हमारा घर ही तो है. जब आप आज विकसित भारत की बात करते हैं तो सबसे पहले सफाई तो रखना बहुत आवश्यक है. सफाई रखिए. अभी हमने कितना पेड़ लगाइए, ये भी बहुत ज़रूरी है. एक आप जब घर से निकलते हो एक बैग रखा करिए अपने में. आप कुछ भी खाते हैं करते हैं रोड पे मत डालिए, उस बैग में डाल दीजिए. फिर बैग घर पे ले जाकर आप कचरा पेटी में डाल दीजिए. अभी मतलब आपका गीला कचरा, सूखा कचरा, वर्मी कल्चर, कितनी सारी चीज़ें हो रही है. तो हम सब ये करें. हमारा भारत एक दिन हमारे बोलने से या एक दिन ये प्रोग्राम करने से भारत विकसित नहीं होगा. भारत में हम सबको करना पड़ेगा. जब हमारे प्रधानमंत्री जी सफाई अभियान शुरू कर सकते हैं तो हम क्यों नहीं कर सकते? हम अपनी कॉलेज को साफ रखें. ज़्यादा कुछ मत करो, अपनी बिल्डिंग को और अपनी कॉलेज को साफ रखो. और आप जहाँ जिस प्रेमाइसेस में जाते हो किसी को गंदा करते देखो तो उसे टोकिए कि ये गलत है. क्योंकि हमारे यहाँ फ़ाइन नहीं है, इसीलिए लोग डरते नहीं हैं. वहाँ हमें फॉरेन में क्या लगता है, फ़ाइन लग जाएगा, इसलिए हम डर कर रहते हैं. वहाँ पर देखिए वो कुत्ते भी घुमाते हैं ना, तो कुत्तों के उसमें वो बांध के रखते हैं, पॉटी करते हैं तो वो थैली बांध के रखते हैं, उसे खुद साफ करते हैं कि ऐसे नहीं रास्ते में. हमारे यहाँ कुत्ते ऐसे ही दौड़ रहे हैं, वहाँ भी ऐसे ही कर रहे हैं. तो ये गंदगी हम खुद कर रहे हैं. तो हमें और दूसरों को भी आप शिक्षित करो. जिसको भी देखो गंदा पान खाकर हम थूक रहे हैं, तो ये हम क्या करें? बिल्डिंगें, आप कितनी अच्छी अच्छी बिल्डिंगें बनी हुई हैं जो आप देखेंगे तो पान की पिक से सब खराब हो चुकी हैं. कि कोई सब लोग बोलते हैं मैं यहाँ का ऑनर हूँ. अरे ऑनर हो तो यार साफ तो रखो. तो ये सब हमको छोटे छोटे काम करने हैं. आप बड़े बड़े काम की बात ही मत करो. छोटे छोटे काम से शुरुआत करोगे ना तो रास्ता अपने आप बड़ा बन जाएगा. कि छू करके पाषाणों को जो भगवान बना लेते हैं, विधि के निष्ठुर अभिशापों को जो वरदान बना लेते हैं, वही वीर होते हैं जो विपत्ति में भी नव उल्लास लिए चलते हैं और सांस सांस में नव जीवन का नव इतिहास लिए चलते हैं. इसलिए आप लोगों से कहती हूँ सिर्फ इतिहास को पढ़ो मत, एक नया इतिहास रचो, एक नया इतिहास गढ़ो. कल इतिहास के पन्नों पर आप सबका नाम हो, ऐसा कुछ काम करो.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you all of you for your valuable inputs and the common challenges faced while implementing sustainability practices. So, Mr. Agarwal, you're a successful entrepreneur and philanthropist. So, could you tell us more about what qualities an aspiring leader should have, and like some advice for future entrepreneurs out here?
So there's been some mistake. I've not been as much of an entrepreneur. I've been more of an environmental activist all my life. But it's equally entrepreneurial, I think. I think self-belief is and it cannot be, it's an extremely important thing. I mean, you need to have self-belief, but self-belief doesn't just come out of thin air. I mean, ultimately you need to be driven, have some clarity on the domain in which you want to grow, whatever it's entrepreneurial. And it's a tough road. I mean, so self-awareness is so keen. The ability to accept mistakes is so important. And that whole thing about failing fast, that do things, fail fast, keep learning. And how do you manage fear? How do you manage self-doubt is extremely critical in any entrepreneurial journey, because there'll be no shortage of people who will keep telling you why this is not correct, why this will fail. And like Kuntal was also saying, you need to hear and be able to create those boundaries. And also, of course, not become arrogant, because that is another thing which for any entrepreneur can be a big danger, that I know everything, and being inconsiderate or not compassionate about people around you. So I think it's a combination of these things. Thank you.
Thank you. So one last question for all of you. So what advice would you give to everyone out here? How you can start sustainable development and basically promoting sustainability at a personal level?
तुम डाइट से बात करो। So देखिए, मैं हर समय मैं वही बोलता हूँ कि आप सिर्फ अपनी जो पर्सनल लाइफस्टाइल है उसमें वेस्ट मिनिमाइजेशन और वेस्ट मैनेजमेंट से स्टार्ट करो। दैट इज़ समथिंग जिसमें आपको गवर्नमेंट की किसी की भी ज़रूरत नहीं है। हमारा एक प्रोग्राम है सफाई बैंक ऑफ इंडिया, HO मैंने एक पैम्फलेट दिया है, आप वो देखिए। हम सिर्फ रैपर कलेक्ट करते हैं, ये जो हल्दीराम कुरकुरे बिस्किट इसके। और दूसरा है कि अगर आप, और मैं बहुत हैप्पी, आई विल बी वेरी हैप्पी, कंपोस्टिंग कर सकें अगर घर में। मेरे घर में मैं अपना पूरा जितना गीला कचरा है, सब्जी के छिलके, फल के छिलके, उन सबको बहुत अच्छी एक खाद बनाता हूँ। मेरे घर से कुछ भी गीला कचरा देवनाथ डंपिंग ग्राउंड नहीं जाता है। तो अगर सब लोग अपने घर पे खाद बना सकें, कंपोस्टिंग कर सकें, तो ये दो चीज़ों से ही आप बहुत ज़्यादा कंट्रीब्यूशन कर देंगे। और आगे तो खैर एक लंबी लिस्ट है, उस पर हम सेपरेटली बात कर सकते हैं।
इवन चाय की पत्ती वगैरह जो भी घर में होती है वो उसकी भी खाद अच्छे से खाद बन जाती है। हाँ, तो वही जैसे कि कहा ना कि शुरुआत अपने से ही शुरू। एक कहावत है ना कि मरे बिना स्वर्ग भी नहीं मरना पड़ता है अगर स्वर्ग चाहिए। तो हम दूसरों को उपदेश देने से बजाय हम लोग करें कि हम खुद अपने से शुरुआत करें कि हमें अच्छा काम कहाँ से करना है। और जब हमने एक शुरुआत हो जाएगी ना, तो लोग आपसे जुड़ते ही चले जाएंगे कि मैं अकेला ही चला था जानिबे मंजिल, लोग साथ आते गए और कारवां बनता गया। तो पानी को वेस्ट मत करो। नल जब आप सेविंग करें या कुछ भी करें, लेकिन नल को बंद रखिए, उसके बाद शुरू करिए। घर में इलेक्ट्रिसिटी, मेरा हमेशा घर में सबसे साथ यही होता है, लाइट बंद करो। कई जगह गाँवों में लाइट नहीं मिलती है लोगों को। ये नहीं है कि लाइट का पैसा है, बिल आएगा, लेकिन लोगों तक लाइट नहीं पहुंच रही है। आप सोचिए खुद, मतलब मैं जो मेलोड़ा धाम है हमारा, हर फ्राइडे वहाँ पूरी लाइट बंद रहती है। आप सोचिए, वहाँ अभी तक पानी का नल नहीं आया है, हमको टैंकर से पानी मंगाना पड़ता है। तो आप सोचिए तो हम कितना कुछ वेस्ट करते हैं। एक आदिप भाई है, मालूम है उनको, पानी वाले वही कहते हैं, वो हर घर में जाते हैं, वो साथ में रखते हैं अपने पेचकस और वो जाके नलों को बंद करते हैं अगर आपके नल खराब हैं। तो कोई ना कोई क्रांति कहाँ से आएगी? कोई ना कोई तो इनिशिएटिव लेगा, तब जाके क्रांति आएगी ना। आप कहीं लोगे तो आपके साथ दूसरे लोग भी जुड़ते जाएंगे। तो इस तरह से छोटे छोटे कामों से, मैंने पहले भी कहा कि छोटे कामों से शुरुआत करिए। हम बड़ी चीज़ करने जाते हैं, एकदम सीधा हिमालय तो नहीं चढ़ेंगे, तो सीधे गिर जाएंगे। एक एक सीढ़ी हम घर की चढ़ते जाएंगे, जहाँ हम अपना रहते हैं वहाँ भी एक एक सीढ़ी चढ़ेंगे, तो ही हम आसमान तक पहुँच सकेंगे। और आप सब आसमान तक पहुँच सकते हो। शिखर के बाद शिखर अनेक हैं, बस चढ़ते जाइए, रुकना नहीं है। कई बार कि हवाओं से कह दो कि अपनी औकात में रहें। हम परों से नहीं, हौसलों से उड़ा करते हैं। उड़ते रहिए और आसमान को छूते रहिए।
एक सबसे छोटी चीज़ तो मैं भूल ही गया, कंपोस्टिंग पे भी मैं बहुत आगे चले गया। सिर्फ जो हम वेस्ट मैनेजमेंट रूल में कहते हैं कि अपना गीला कचरा सूखा कचरा मिक्स मत कीजिए, सबसे पहले उससे स्टार्ट कर दीजिए। कंपोस्टिंग करें ना करें, प्लास्टिक और जो फूड वेस्ट है, इसमें 3 डस्टबिन होने चाहिए, डोमेस्टिक हजार्डस भी। और जब आप अपने घर के बाहर कचरा रखते हैं अपने सफाई कर्मचारी के लिए, तो अलग अलग दीजिए, नहीं तो वो लोग को कभी कभी उसको छांटना पड़ता है, उसमें से प्लास्टिक निकालनी पड़ती है। जो कचरे को हम देखना नहीं चाहते वो 100-150 लोगों के कचरे में से वो उनको और बीनना पड़ता है। तो ये सबसे सिंपल स्टेप है, आप पर्यावरण के लिए बहुत कुछ करेंगे।
और एक चीज़ और मैं कहना चाहती हूँ, आपके घर में कोई प्लास्टिक है, कांच की बोतल अगर फूट जाती है तो वो कचरा आप अलग रखिए, अलग थैली में पैक करिए। कई बार ये कचरा फेंकते और जानवर खा लेते हैं। आप सोचिए जानवरों को कितनी तकलीफ होती है, हमें समझ में नहीं आता। तो कोई भी ऐसी चीज़ है, वो नुकीली चीज़ हो जो नुकसान करती है एनिमल्स को, तो उनको एकदम पैक कर कर रखिए, ताकि वो कचरा फेंकने वाले भी उसी पैकिंग के साथ ही वहाँ रखेंगे, ताकि कोई जानवर नहीं खा सके।
एंड आई विल जस्ट ऐड वन स्मॉल थिंग, अगर हफ्ते में आप 1 या 2 मील से शुरू कर सको जो मील्स पूरे के पूरे वीगन हो, राइट, तो नो मीट, नो एग्स, नो घी, नो बटर, नो चीज़, नो पनीर, कोई भी ऐसी चीज़ जो एनिमल से आती है वो आप अपने प्लेट पे मत इंक्लूड करो। प्राइमरीली योर डाइट शुड बी प्लांट्स। अगर आप इस पे फोकस करोगे तो आप बहुत ही बिग मैसिव टेंजिबल स्टेप लोगे towards reducing not just animal cruelty but also our impact on the environment, and it can start with 1 or 2 meals a week. जैसे मैम ने बोला कि हम सीधा एवरेस्ट पे नहीं जाते, मैं पहले ही सीधा एवरेस्ट पे नहीं गया, मेरी जर्नी 10 साल की थी, तो स्टेप बाय स्टेप है। तो मैं भी आपको नहीं बोल रहा हूँ कि आज ही वीगन बन जाओ, ये नहीं बोल रहा हूँ, बट आप हफ्ते में 1 या 2 या 3 मील्स वीगन तो खा ही सकते हो। तो शुरुआत छोटे से करो, स्मॉल स्टेप्स विल लीड टू बिगर समिट्स, एज मैम सेड। थैंक्स।
बहुत अच्छा लगा बच्चों आपसे मिलकर, और आपने बहुत सुंदर किया। तो मैं चाहती हूँ जाने के पहले हम सब मिलकर कुछ गाएं, चलेगा? मेरे देश की धरती सोना उगले उगले हीरे मोती, मेरे देश की धरती जहाँ डाल डाल पर सोने की चिड़िया करती है बसेरा, वो भारत देश है मेरा, वो भारत देश है मेरा। अभी आप गाओगे, सुनो गौर से दुनिया वालों, बुरी नजर ना हम पर डाल, चाहे जितना जोर लगा, सबसे आगे होंगे सब। आवाज नहीं आ रही है, सुनाई नहीं दे रहा, मोदी जी तक जानी चाहिए ये बात। सबसे आगे होंगे, एक बार और, सबसे आगे होंगे, बिल्कुल सबसे आगे होंगे। हमें अपने भारतीय होने पर गर्व होना चाहिए, हमें अपनी मातृभाषा हिंदी पर भी गर्व होना चाहिए। सब कुछ करिए लेकिन भारत और हिंदी पर गर्व करिए। जय हिंद, भारत माता की जय। थैंक यू।
कंक्लूजन ही कर।
ओके ओके।
I'm giving key takeaways. So, thank you, Dr. Lodha, Mr. Joysham, Mr. Agarwal for today's discussion. So we have some key takeaways from the discussion, like sustainable development starts from an individual, and there are many things, as they have already informed us about, that you can start on a personal level and make your way up the ladder and contribute significantly to sustainable development and economic growth. Can we have one last round of applause for all our panelists?
Thanks for you. आप सबने सुना हमको, इसके लिए थैंक यू फॉर योर। बहुत अच्छे से बहुत अच्छे से कहते हैं ना, एक संचालन का काम, एक जोड़ने का काम किया आपने। आपका नाम क्या बेटा? जो बहुत है, छोटा तालियां।
We would request Mr. Rohit K. Pitle, sir, the professor in charge for this summit, to please felicitate our guests and panelists for today. Could we please have another? Hello. Could we please have another huge round of applause for our panelists and judges for today? As we bid adieu to this transformative event, let us carry forth the torch of Viksit Bharat with renewed vigor and determination. Our journey ahead is illuminated by the promise of progress and the spirit of innovation. Let us embrace the challenges that lie ahead with unwavering resolve, knowing that together we possess the power to overcome any obstacle. As we look to the horizon, let us remember that the success of Viksit Bharat is not measured solely by economic indicators, but by the tangible improvements in the lives of every Indian. It is a commitment to inclusive growth, sustainable development, and social cohesion.
HSMC University proudly stands as a cornerstone of this movement, dedicated to nurturing the next generation of leaders who will drive India's accent on the global stage. Let us continue to collaborate, innovate, and inspire, for the journey towards a Viksit Bharat is not just a destination, but a collective endeavor to shape a brighter future for all.
I now request Mr. Rohit K. Pitle sir to express his words of gratitude.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be part of this event and be coordinator of this event. This is my first job in KC College, and I was in college as a student. And I'm really happy to be a coordinator of this event. Sustainable development is a very important topic because not because in our syllabus, but जैसे ऋषि अग्रवाल जी ने कहा कि हम लोग को हमारे अर्थ को कुछ देना चाहिए रिटर्न में. हम लोग इतनी सारी चीज़ें अर्थ से लेते हैं लेकिन हम उसको कुछ देते नहीं है, तो उसको देने के बारे में भी सोचना चाहिए. और जो बातें हम लोग कर रहे हैं पहले तो हमें हमारे अपने आप से शुरुआत करनी चाहिए, और गवर्नमेंट जो डिसीजन लेगी उसको तो हमें इम्प्लीमेंट करना ही है, लेकिन अपने आप से शुरुआत करेंगे तो हम लोग को ज़्यादा सक्सेस मिल सकती है, ऐसे मुझे लगता है. एंड मैं थोड़ा स्पीच जो लेके आया वो बोलता हूँ. Dear attendees, esteemed guests, faculty members and dignitaries, a warm welcome to the Viksit Bharat at 2047 International Economic Summit hosted by KC College, a constituent college of Hyderabad State National Collegiate Board and HSNC University. As the faculty coordinator of this event, I am deeply honored and privileged to be part of this occasion. Today marks an important day. I am more than delighted to be part of the very first International Economic Summit Viksit Bharat at the rate 2047. It's a privilege to be the faculty coordinator to put my economic knowledge and support. I extend my heartfelt gratitude to everyone here for gracing this event with your presence. As we prepare to learn and explore economic horizons and sustainability, let us allow ourselves to acquire knowledge, share ideas, and raise our voices for growth and development of the world. Under the exceptional leadership of our Vice Chancellor, Dr. Hemlata Bala, and dedicated guidance from our economics faculty, Dr. Ravi Kiran Garje sir, Dr. Nandini Sen Gupta, Dr. Hiral Sheth, and myself, the summit has evolved into a beacon of academic excellence. Sustainable development and economic growth are undeniably relevant themes in today's global landscape. The speaker sessions and panel discussions have enlightened us to the pressing challenges such as climate change, resource depletion, and social inequality, the imperative for sustainable development become increasingly apparent. Economic growth, while crucial for prosperity, must be pursued in harmony with environmental conservation and social equity to ensure the well-being of current and future generation. I want to express my utmost gratitude to everyone who made first day of this event an unforgettable success. The dedication, hard work, passion exhibited by the organizing committee have been truly remarkable. Let's carry the spirit of excellence and collaboration to day 2 of the International Economic Summit as well, continuing to make a positive impact in everything we do. Thank you all for being a part of this today and hoping to see everyone in high spirits tomorrow as well. Thank you.